What is up, hooligans? Happy freedom. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Hooligans, where we try to make the news suck a little less. I appreciate all of you guys being here. Holy crap, the cat's breaking stuff, I guess. He's like, Dad's working, time to destroy the house. Alright then. So we're going to start off with the schedule here, and then we'll read through the chats, and then we'll wait for KJP to come staggering out, and that's the plan. So obviously we're starting off with KJP. She's supposed to be staggering out on stage, bringing with her somebody named Lael Brainard. I don't know. You know how I am with names. Some asshole that works at the White House will be associating with her. And then she'll bring Captain Hot Dog Fingers out as well. Probably going to talk about the mass shooting. Holy crap. Probably we'll be talking about the mass shooting. They're obviously going to be talking about the Middle East and all this stuff. So not looking forward to that because I think it's all nonsense. Anyways, then we'll be starting with a video titled ACLU sues to protect the spread of HIV. Some soft and stupid stuff. That video is a Newsmax video. It's got a plethora of little articles in it. I thought it'd be a good warm-up. We got that. Then we have a video titled The FBI was blackmailing old man Walter. That's what they say. We'll see. Then we have a video. This is a follow-up video. It's titled Fire Marshal Jamal Bowman faces charges. When they were voting on what they were going to do to prevent the government shutdown, this individual went and pulled a fire alarm, claims that he didn't know it was a fire alarm. He thought it was going to open the door that he couldn't get out of. But then he was also a principal at a school for like a few years. So it's not like he was unfamiliar with what a fire alarm looks like. Well, that caught up to him, and they're actually going to press charges against him for it. I doubt anything severe will happen, but something's better than nothing, I suppose. Then we have a video titled Mike Johnson, a staunch conservative from Louisiana, is elected House Speaker with broad GOP support. They say they give a little summary about him, and then at the end they call him a MAGA extremist, and that's really good. So we threw that on there today. Then we have a video titled Trump fined 10,000 doll hairs for the second gag order violation. Oh my goodness. President Trump's out here using his freedom of speech, and they can't stand it. They're going to hit him with $10,000 fines every time he opens his face. I don't know. You ever see football players do their celebrations after they make a touchdown? They get charged crazy amounts of money, like $250,000 or something. They get charged crazy fines for doing that. They consider unsportsmanlike conduct. And so they go out there and celebrate anyways, even though there's a fine. That's what this reminds me of. Trump's being told not to speak. He's speaking anyways. They're like, well, it's $10,000. He's like, I got $10,000. Don't you worry about it, buddy. I'm going to say what I want to say. I don't know. That's how I'm just perceiving this. That's probably not how it's going, but that's how I'm perceiving it, and I'm enjoying it. I don't think they should be charging him that, but thankfully the Orange Eagles got the bucks to back it up, and I like to see the Orange Eagles stand tall and shine bright, so that's how I'm perceiving it. Then we have a video titled Ford Strikes tentative, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. A deal to end the auto strike. They claim that everybody's all happy and this, that, and the other. So we're covering that as an update to multiple videos that we've shown. Then we will be wrapping things up with a video titled Manhunt Underway for Person of Interest, talking about the mass shooting happening in Maine that nobody has any accurate details of. Nobody knows anything about it. I was reading about it last night, woke up, all the details were different. An hour ago, all the details were different. 20 minutes ago, all the details are different. Nobody seems to know anything. Nobody knows how many people died. Nobody knows how many people were injured. Nobody knows the exact locations that these events happened. Nobody knows how this guy obtain the firearm. Nobody knows how he's getting from place to place. Nobody knows this guy. Like, smells like a glowy to me, but I digress. We'll get into it when we get into it. We're gonna flip through the chat really quick, make sure everything is running smoothly, and then we're gonna be giving KJP the time she needs to find the door to walk out on stage so we can all laugh at her and talk shit to her. And that's the plan. That's the plan. I was supposed to call the shop before the live, and I totally forgot, so I won't have an update until after the live. That means you should go join Gilded and jeffmaclive.com. That way I can update you when I do make the phone call. Update you guys on what's going on with the poor blue Subaru. They've had it since Monday. What is it today? Is it Thursday? It is Thursday. So, I don't know how long it takes to do a motor swap, but we'll see. What's up, Annette? Happy freedom. Appreciate you being here. What are you eating? What are you eating? I probably won't be able to eat until 8 o'clock again today. That's the downside of playing the game on the live, is I don't get to eat till the very end of the day. What's up, everyone over on Rumble? What's up, Snooks? What's up, Guess MJ? Happy freedom, you hooligans. What's up, Astral Hammer? What's up, Matthew? What's up, old BR? What's up, Cheeseburger Row? What's up, Derby? What's up, Lifelike? What's up, Girth? This instant coffee's kicking my ass. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. My goodness. What's up, Joe? Happy freedom. What's up, JT3? Appreciate you being here. Hold on a second. Maybe that's better. We'll see. My goodness. What's up, DCat? Appreciate you being here. What's up, Tam Tam? Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Oh, dang. It's almost lights, camera, action time. Oh. What's up, Can Killer? Happy freedom. Appreciate you being over on Odyssey. Hopefully Odyssey is working. Oh, yeah, there we are. Looking good. What's up, everyone over on D Live? Happy freedom. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for being the first one to subscribe on D Live. You're officially a hooligan. And I appreciate you, Cassandra. Thank you. What's up, everyone over on Kick? What's up, DeRosa? Happy freedom. What's up, everyone over on Twitch? I'm going to flip the screen here. First, I want to remind you guys, we got the Spooky Hooligan shirts out. Go check them out. Shirts, hoodies, tank tops. Oh, no, not tank tops, because it's cold for Halloween. No tank tops, but we got stickers, coffee mugs, glass pints if you want to drink beer out of a Spooky Hooligan shirt. We got that. And then we also have the Screaming Goat. Can't go wrong with that. All right, I'm going to continue reading through the chats, but we got to get this on the screen because we're about to miss her come staggering out here real quick. What color do you think she's wearing? I'm going with purple. I'm thinking she's got purple today. We're going to see. What's up, Grey Wolf? What's up, Ms. Vu? Happy freedom. Appreciate all of you over here on Twitch. What's up, everyone over on GoofTube? Let me get you guys that Rumble link. I get over to YouTube and it's like I finally made it to the life raft, and now I got to tie the rope on to bring you guys back over to safety. Every day, that's what it feels like. Rumble. Rumble, young hooligan, rumble. Get you out. There you go. There you go. Villa, you think she's coming out in brown? Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe the coat. Happy, you think she's going to be sporting some green? Oh, she could be green. I kind of feel some green. Annette, thinking pink. I could see some pink. Why is everybody saying brown? You guys are a bunch of racists. Shut the hell up. You know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Don't say that. Don't say that. She ain't coming out. Come on, man. Come on now. What's up, Chucky Chucky? Happy freedom. Appreciate you being here. Oh, came out in communist red.
I wanted to start with a word about the horrific news out of Lewiston, Maine last night, where we saw another tragic shooting that has taken at least 18 lives.
Last night it was 22.
And left countless people in grief, shock, and trauma. As the president said in a statement earlier today, he and the First Lady are praying for the victims and their families, for those still fighting for their lives, and for the families, survivors, and community members reeling from this latest act of gun violence. And importantly, we continue to urge all residents to heed the warnings and guidance of the local officials, and federal law enforcement are on the ground to assist with the response. During the state dinner last night, the president was informed and stepped out to receive an initial briefing of the shooting. Later, he stepped out to speak with Maine Governor Janet Mills, as well as Senators Collins and King, and Congressman Jared Golden. He pledged full federal support in the wake of this horrific tragedy. This morning, the president received another briefing on the shooting from senior advisors, and he ordered that the U.S. flag be flown half-staff at the White House and upon all public buildings and grounds out of respect for all the victims as well. So I want to echo the president's sentiments on this tragedy and the epidemic of gun violence in general. This is not normal. We cannot accept this. There have been literally hundreds of mass shootings in the last year alone, leaving empty seats at dinner tables across the country, and leaving those who survive these heinous acts both physically and mentally scarred. And while we have made progress since the president signed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act into law, much more must be done. And the president has been clear that executive action alone is just not enough. As our friends in Australia have demonstrated, again, it does not have to be this way. It's within Congress's power to pass legislation that will make our streets safer, that will make our communities safer, that will make our schools safer. The House has a new speaker who he said he's ready to get to work and to find common ground. Now is the time. Now is the time to find common ground. Let's work together to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
Nah, everyone should be buying guns and learning how to use them. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a mass shooting. If the first group of people would have had at least one or two people, good guys with guns, it would have never got this far. What an idiot. Somebody drowned today. You guys need to ban water. Don't learn to swim. Ban water. That's the way to do it. Fucking idiot.
To protect our children. And we urge congressional Republicans to come to the table if there truly is common ground at this time. With that, as you all know, I am joined today in the briefing room by the Director of National Economic Council, Lael Brainard, to discuss the GDP report that you all saw this morning and any other economic news that's out there. With that, Lael, welcome to the briefing room for the second time.
Well, we thought this might be a good moment to look back to this time last year and recall what the experts were saying about the U.S. economy.
The experts.
The consensus view was that unemployment would need to go up to 4.5%, and the economy would need to stall out in order to get inflation down to where it is today. It turns out that was wrong, and you can see that here in the chart. U.S. growth has been much stronger than the naysayers believed. Unemployment has remained below 4% this entire time, but inflation has actually fallen in line with that forecast. In fact, today we learned that GDP grew by 4
You gonna make us listen to this woman and then Captain Hot Dog Fingers?
as core PCE
I might have to spike my coffee. I don't know.
on a quarterly basis fell to 2.4%, its lowest level in nearly 3 years. Is a testament to the resilience of American consumers and American workers, supported by President Biden's plan to grow the economy by growing the middle class. Consumer spending is robust as Americans have rejoined the labor force in record numbers, and real wages are up over the last year. President Biden vowed to build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, and that's exactly what we're seeing in the data. Last week's survey of consumer finances showed that Americans' median net worth is 37% higher than it was before the pandemic, adjusted for inflation. That's the largest gain in the history of the survey, and the wealth gains were strongest for the bottom half of the income distribution and for Blacks and Hispanic families that have traditionally not seen as large gains. Just yesterday, the UAW and Ford reached a historic tentative agreement that provides a record increase for auto workers and is a testament to the president's strategy to ensure a strong future for auto manufacturing here in America with good union jobs. That's good news for American workers and good news for the future of the U.S. auto industry. So in the data in that agreement, we can see that the president's strategy is yielding real results, even as we continue to work to bring costs down.
Thanks, Liv. So I want to. So the president celebrated the GDP report, saying that it's a testament to the resilience of the American consumer. But the report also showed that personal savings dropped by $360 million. Do you have a message to Americans who are dipping into those savings to afford the inflation?
Well, again, as I said, what you are seeing is Americans are back in the labor force in record numbers, much higher participation that was anticipated, and higher than pre-pandemic. So they're at work, and that is showing up also in the wealth number. So if you actually look at American households' median wealth in inflation-adjusted terms, it's actually gone up since before the pandemic.
We're wealthy and we didn't know it. We're just a bunch of ungrateful bastards. I was unaware. I was unaware.
The reason that we're seeing this resilience in the economy, and they are actually seeing increase in their wealth over this period.
Well, what about a message to Americans who are dipping into savings to afford their lifestyle?
So I think that, again, because net wealth is rising, because real incomes are rising, because Americans are working, that's exactly what we would want to see in the economy.
Yeah, shut your ass, wealthy man. What do you know?
So I think the data in recent months has all pointed in the same direction, which is that we are seeing strong ongoing growth with inflation coming down. We're seeing unemployment staying below 4%, 20 months in a row now, with inflation coming down. And so those data, which have been sustained now for a relatively long period of time, suggest that there's ongoing resilience there. We're seeing small business formation at a record rate. There's a lot of dynamism in the economy that people are really taking notice of. And you know that the president has a historic legislation that is leading to historically high amounts of construction in the manufacturing sector. It's really leveraging private sector investment. So for all those reasons, the ability to see the economy continue growing with inflation down, strongest growth, lowest inflation among the G7.
Good job.
Thanks a lot. Since this GDP number was released, student loan repayments have begun for tens of millions of Americans. Is this a headwind that you see in the U.S. economy for Q4? What I'd
like to see student debt relief go forward. forward. He's continuing to look to find avenues to do
It's buffering on their end.
Supreme Court decision. We've already announced a number of programs that have led to large and significant relief for a large number of Americans, but he's going to continue working to make sure that the full amount of student debt relief is available over time.
And then what other headwinds do you see for the fourth quarter?
So right now, what we see going into the fourth quarter is continued ongoing investment on the basis of the clean energy tax credits and the CHIPS program, the infrastructure law. So there should continue to be a lot of private sector interest. We certainly see it in the numbers, $614 billion worth of private sector investment on the basis of those laws. So those things I think will continue to provide uplift. The global economy, there's some soft spots there, so perhaps a little headwind there.
Last question, go ahead.
To follow on the consumer spending side, do you expect the pace of consumer spending to ease in the coming months? And a follow-up on that if I can.
You know, there is the possibility that from quarter to quarter you see some variation. So it's hard to know right now what retail spending and consumer spending more broadly is going to look like. Again, consumers have good sources of income, real wages rising, strong employment, strong participation in the labor force. But from quarter to quarter, we could certainly see variations in the relative contribution of consumers relative to business investment, for instance.
How do you see the recent spike in borrowing cost affecting consumer spending?
So certainly consumers and businesses are taking into account the cost of credit, and that is, I think, a headwind on the economy. Despite that, we've seen really strong GDP, 4.9% in the third quarter, and we think that's because there is strong support from the policy on the investment side of the economy, the president's historic legislation there, and his broader plan to grow the economy from the middle out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks,
you. Leo. Thank you for coming back. Okay, we're moving on. Okay, yes. As you know, Admiral John Kirby is here to do, I think you have something to share at the top.
I hope not.
Foreign policy questions. Admiral?
Thanks, Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start. I've got a couple things I want to get through. Let me start with the Middle East. The president continues to be routinely updated by the National Security Team on the situation there. Obviously, continuing to support. We are continuing to support Israel's military security assistance continues to flow to them as needed, almost on a daily basis. And obviously, we're still laser focused on the humanitarian assistance situation, making sure that more food, water, medicine can get in. Since the 21st of this month, some 74 trucks have now gotten in, 12 over just the last 24 hours. Not enough. More needs to go. And we're working with partners on the ground to see if we can accelerate and increase the flow of humanitarian assistance in. So again, it remains a high focus for him and for the national security team. I do want to, if you'll allow me to, just to take a couple of minutes to update you on the battlefield situation in Ukraine. As we have said publicly, Russia has launched a renewed offensive in eastern Ukraine across multiple lines, including around Avdiivka, Liman, and Kupiansk. Now, I spoke about this in a gaggle recently, but this offensive was not a surprise. We've been watching this build and come. We've warned that President Putin still aims to conquer Ukraine, and we've been working to ensure that Ukraine has the equipment it needs to defend its territory. Just today, you may have noticed, we announced another package of security assistance, which includes air defense capabilities, Javelin anti-tank missiles, more artillery ammunition, and more ammunition for the high-mobility artillery rocket system, otherwise known as HIMARS. Thus far, using all these capabilities, the Ukrainians have been able to hold on and hold on the defense against this offensive, successfully repelling Russian tank columns that have been advancing on Avdiivka. Since the 11th of October, Russia has suffered significant losses in this offensive attempt of theirs, including at least 125 armored vehicles around Avdiivka and more than a battalion's worth of equipment. We expect more Russian attacks to come. This is a dynamic conflict, and we need to remember that Russia still maintains some offensive capability and may be able to achieve some tactical gains in the coming months. Now, to pursue that outcome in Avdiivka and elsewhere on the battlefield, Russia continues to show no regard for the lives of its soldiers. We believe they have suffered thousands of casualties in their effort to conduct this offensive, some of them on the orders of their own leaders. We have information that the Russian military has been actually executing soldiers who refuse to follow orders. We also have information that Russian commanders are threatening to execute entire units if they seek to retreat from Ukrainian artillery fire. Russia's mobilized forces remain undertrained, under-equipped, and unprepared for combat. As was the case during their failed winter offensive last year, the Russian military appears to be using what we would call human wave tactics, just throwing masses of these poorly trained soldiers right into the fight. No proper equipment, no leadership, no resourcing, no support. It is unsurprising that Russian forces are suffering from poor morale, given all these conditions. Russia's renewed attempt at an offensive is a sobering reminder that President Putin is not giving up on his aspirations to take all of Ukraine. And as long as Russia continues its brutal assault, we have to continue to support the Ukrainian people in their self-defense, because his intentions are clear. You heard the president talk about this last week. He basically said that if Western weapons to Ukraine stopped, Ukraine would have a week to live. So to ensure that we can continue to do that, it's critical that Congress step up and pass the supplemental request that the president put forward last week, which included a significant amount of resources for Ukraine, for their self-defenses, for their humanitarian and economic needs. It's time now to move forward with that supplemental funding, because time clearly is not on our side or on that of Ukraine going forward. So with that, take some questions.
The president yesterday, John, said he has no confidence in the death toll numbers presented by the Palestinians in Gaza. What's he basing that on? How did he reach this conclusion?
Well, we all know that the Gazan Ministry of Health is just a front for Hamas. It's run by Hamas, a terrorist organization. I've said it myself up here. We can't take anything coming out of Hamas, including the so-called Ministry of Health, at face value.
Okay. And secondly, the president's talking more about humanitarian pause and reviving the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. What's prompting this tone shift?
So, two thoughts here, Steve. For one, the president has never backed away or never stopped affirming the need for a two-state solution. Since coming into office, we've been working on that very hard. And I know it's a lofty goal, and it's taken a lot of people a long time to try to get there, and we haven't gotten there. But he's not stopped working towards that goal, and he still believes, as he said yesterday, that when this conflict is over, that still has to be the goal we're driving to, a state for Palestinians that they can live in peace and security and justice. That is a strategic long-term goal. In a tactical sense, as Secretary Blinken said, we do think that there should be consideration made right now for humanitarian pauses. These are localized, temporary, specific pauses on the battlefield so that humanitarian assistance can get in to people that need it, or the people can get out of that area in relative safety. That's what a humanitarian pause is, and we think it's an idea worth exploring.
Just to follow up on the first thing that Steve asked you quickly about the president's lack of confidence in the numbers that we're getting out of Gaza right now. As you noted, the Gaza Health Ministry is run by Hamas. But to be clear, the president and the White House, you don't dispute that thousands of Palestinians, many of them innocent civilians, have been killed by Israeli strikes so far, do you?
Of course not. We absolutely know that the death toll continues to rise in Gaza. Of course we know that. But what we're saying is that we shouldn't rely on numbers put forth by Hamas and the Ministry of
So
Health.
they say it's more than 7,000. Is there any way to assess how many it is? Or I mean, the president said it was a pretty dramatic moment when he said, "Yeah, we don't have any confidence in that." We respect that you can't take Hamas at its word, but it does appear by all independent journalism, including that by a lot of people in the room, that thousands of Palestinians have been killed.
We would not dispute that.
Okay, then let me ask you if I can very quickly. Is the White House satisfied that Israel, to this point, has obeyed the laws of war, the rules of the war, as the president has indicated, and is Israel, in the White House's view, doing enough to this point to protect innocent lives?
Again, we're not going to react in real time to events unfolding on the battlefield and every allegation and every strike. We're just not going to do that.
But that means it's not until the war is completed that you guys can have an assessment of whether
I didn't say that
they're
either. I just said
okay.
we're not going to react in real time here, Peter. We have been in constant touch with our Israeli counterparts since the very early hours of this conflict to make sure we're asking them the hard questions that we want them to ask themselves, and to reiterate, as the president said yesterday, to reiterate that there is an added burden here on Israel to make sure that they are doing everything they can to minimize civilian casualties, and we're in constant communication with them about that.
Thanks, Corinne. John, to follow up on my colleague's questions, does the president have faith in the numbers released by the West Bank Ministry of Health, which is run by Palestinian authorities, that says there's been more than 100 West Bank Palestinians killed by what the president called extremist settlers?
I know of no dispute with the rough numbers coming out of there either. We know that there's been quite a bit of violence in the West Bank as well. Obviously, the casualties are nowhere near the numbers that we're seeing coming out of Gaza.
Can I just follow up on the meeting between Jake Sullivan and Wong tomorrow? What are the expectations? Will the president join the meeting? What are the key focus? And what kind of role can the U.S. expect from China on the war in Gaza?
That wasn't one more question. That was like 7 more questions. Mr. Sullivan's looking forward to this discussion with Wong Yi. I think you know he's going to be starting out with meeting Secretary Blinken later this afternoon, and then tomorrow with Jake here at the White House. And it's a chance to continue the conversation that Jake himself has had with our PRC counterparts now for many, many months. It's another milestone in that effort to keep the lines of communication open with the PRC. Now, it'll be an opportunity for Mr. Sullivan to obviously address areas of concern that we continue to have with some of the PRC behavior, particularly in the South China Sea. But it'll also be an opportunity to explore ways in which we can continue to keep these channels open and to try to get open the military-to-military channel communication, which is still closed.
On the Gaza?
I'm sorry?
China's role in the conflict.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I have no doubt that part of this discussion and the agenda will be what's going on in the Middle East and getting the Chinese perspective and certainly looking for ways to encourage them to be helpful.
Go ahead, Michael.
Green. John, the Florida governor says that the state is sending weapons and drones to Israel at the request of the consulate in Miami. Have you been coordinating with the Florida government on this, and can states just send weapons and other material to foreign states?
I would certainly let the governor speak to what Florida is doing. It is not illegal for the governor of a state to offer a measure of foreign assistance to another country. There are laws and regulations which govern how the export process is handled, and that's all done through commerce. I couldn't speak with authority today about whether the governor is checked all those boxes or not. You really should talk to him and his staff. But it's not illegal for a state governor to do that kind of thing.
Just one quick follow-up on all of the questions regarding the death toll coming out of the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza. Do you have any sense, you acknowledge that thousands have died in Gaza, do you have any sense of the percentage of those that are Hamas militants versus civilians?
I do not.
Thank you, Admiral. More than 30 U.S. service members have been killed in attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria. Will the U.S. respond militarily, and is the U.S. prepared to lead another war in the Middle East?
I don't know. I don't think. Did you say 30 have been killed? I don't.
Have been injured.
Yeah, I'll let the Pentagon speak to the number of injuries that they've had. My understanding is that almost all the troops that have been injured are back on duty, and and that there are some that have suffered what we call traumatic brain injury. That's from the concussive effect when these rockets land close by, and sometimes it takes a while for those symptoms to manifest themselves. So the numbers, again, I refer you to the Pentagon because I suspect they could change over time. As the president said yesterday, we've got troops in Iraq and Syria that are there on a very important mission, going after ISIS. Still viable mission, because it's still a group that poses a threat. And they have in the past come under attack by some of these militia groups. And you might recall back in March, we responded and retaliated pretty aggressively. And as the president also said, we're going to do what we have to do to protect those troops in our facilities. Now, what we decide to do as commander-in-chief, that's his decision to make. And he'll make it in a time and a manner of his own choosing.
And the U.S. and Israel have said that Hamas is using Palestinians as human shields. Is it acceptable that Israelis are attacking places even though they know that civilians would likely be killed? And are these strikes strategic or targeted enough?
I will let the Israeli Defense Forces speak to their operations and their targeting procedures. We're not involved in that. They have a right and a responsibility to go after Hamas after what happened on October 7th. And we've said, as I just mentioned to Peter, we've obviously had conversations with them about, and the president said yesterday, the need to be careful about causing civilian casualties and to be targeting.
Oh, just shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. We got actual news to cover. If you're done flapping your lips, Captain Hot Dog Fingers.
You mentioned the idea of a humanitarian pause a little earlier. Did the president raise that with Netanyahu when they spoke yesterday?
I won't go beyond the readout.
When we talk about a humanitarian pause, can you fill out a little bit more of what the U.S. believes that would look like? How long would that last? Would it be like a cessation of the bombing? Would it be a halt in some of the cross-border incursions? We saw some of that yesterday, or I guess earlier today. Would it be just
halt in the cross-border incursions?
The Israelis sent tanks over the border very briefly yesterday. So would it be a halt in that, a halt in the bombing? What exactly would it look like, and how long would it last?
Not going to be a satisfying answer to you, but the answer is it depends. A humanitarian pause is, by definition, like I said, a temporary and local agreement to stop the fighting long enough to do some discrete task. In this case, it would be to get humanitarian assistance in and or to allow people to get out, because Hamas is not, they're not encouraging and in some cases not allowing people to leave their homes. So it could be, I mean, Kevin, it could be a matter of hours. It could be a matter of days. I mean, it is by definition of short duration and of geographically sort of a localized area. Now, it could also be more than one spot, right? I mean, that's what I mean. It depends. But we think it's a valuable idea that's worth looking at to help alleviate the humanitarian suffering in Gaza.
And did you have any response or reaction to senior leaders of Hamas visiting Moscow today?
I can't speak for their travel habits or with their conversations with the Russians. Our message to any other nation around the world is this is not a time to be supporting Hamas's ability to continue to kill Israelis, and it's certainly not a time, or any nation out there that wants to be involved should look for ways to be involved to help Israel defend itself and to help get humanitarian assistance in. So we'll see what comes of the conversation.
Two quick things. Was there any coordination by the Florida governor with the White House on sending munitions over to Israel?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and then second, can you elaborate a little bit on the execution of Russian soldiers? How long has it been going on? Do you have any idea how many people and why? It seems kind of, they're getting rid of their own soldiers, you know?
I'm not qualified to answer that last question. I mean, it's reprehensible to think about that you would execute your own soldiers because they didn't want to follow orders, and now threatening to execute entire units. I mean, it's barbaric. But I think it's a symptom of how poorly Russia's military leaders know they're doing, and how bad they have handled this from a military perspective. From the very beginning, we've been talking about poor command and control, poor logistics and sustainment. They can't feed their guys in the field for crying out loud, and now again they're willing to shoot them for not following orders. It also speaks to the desperation in the manpower crunch. I got asked this question a day or so ago, but Russia obviously has a bigger military than Ukraine, and they have access to more manpower to man it. But they are in such desperate need to make some kind of progress, particularly in the Donbass, the Donetsk area, that they are literally throwing young men into the fight who haven't been properly trained, haven't been properly equipped, and certainly are not being properly led.
Thank you, Corinne. John, the president said that if Iran or its proxies attacked U.S. troops, that we would respond. So what is he waiting for exactly?
He did say that.
Where's the response?
He said that. And he said that we will...
Repeating the warning is the response?
Jackie, come on now.
It's not his question.
I'm not going to telegraph punches here from the podium. We have responded and retaliated in the past, quite aggressively, in fact, back in March. And as the president said, we will not hesitate to protect our troops and our facilities, but we're going to do it at a time of our choosing, in a manner of our choosing. And the decision to do it, if we do it, is his as commander-in-chief and his alone.
He said that he issued a warning to the Ayatollah, this warning he talked about yesterday. How was that warning delivered?
I'm not going to get into that.
Can you say if there was a phone call or if there was a third party? Was there a message that was relayed after U.S. troops were injured?
There was a direct message relayed. That's as far as I'm going to go.
And then why were the injuries not disclosed until Tuesday?
I'd have to refer you to the Pentagon on that.
And can you also say why the U.S. approved a visa for Iran's foreign minister who's in New York this week? The Wall Street Journal reported that he partook in at least 2 planning meetings in Lebanon with Hezbollah, the Islamic Jihad, and Hamas leading up to the October 7th attack.
Secretary General called a meeting at the foreign ministerial level. He's the foreign minister of Iran. We are the host of the UN. We take that responsibility seriously. Do we particularly like the fact that he's on U.S. soil? No. But unlike a lot of other countries around the world, we take those responsibilities, those rules seriously, and so we allowed him to come in to attend these meetings. And we hope, quite frankly, we're certainly going to take advantage of the opportunity. We hope others at the UN take advantage of the opportunity to ask tough questions of him and what his country's doing to support these militia groups and what his country's doing to support Hamas and Hezbollah. This is an opportunity for world leaders up there in New York to make their perspectives and their concerns known directly to the Iranian foreign minister.
There's a Pentagon official, Ariane Tabatabai, I believe I'm saying her last name correctly. She was alleged to be involved in an Iranian government influence operation. There was some discussion about whether she should keep her security clearance. She did. But she's now the chief of staff for the office that's overseeing hostage negotiations. Is it appropriate for someone with these connections to the Iranian regime to be overseeing rescue operations for Americans that are being held by Iran-backed proxies?
I'd have to refer you to the Defense Department to speak to that, Jackie.
Go ahead, Jenny. Hey,
We don't need 2 people to come on stage every day and refer us to other departments. It's so stupid.
Can you elaborate on what you would like to see out of it? Do you want them to condemn Hamas? Do you want them to use their influence with Tehran behind the scenes? And then separately, you have also called out Beijing in the past for providing support for Putin's war effort in Ukraine. What's your current assessment on whether that support is ongoing, whether that's reaching the level of a red line? You sort of didn't want to get into it, but it was non-lethal aid that was provided a couple months ago. So where does that stand now? Obviously, Putin went to China a couple weeks ago, so their alliance seems to be strong.
We still haven't seen any indication that China is willing to provide lethal capabilities to the Russian military. We just haven't seen that. And as for them being helpful, they are able to have conversations in some places, like Tehran, that we aren't. So we'll see what Mr. What Wang Yi says when he gets here tomorrow or this afternoon. But there's if I think it would be irresponsible if we didn't try to explore this issue with them and see what their thoughts and perspectives are.
Thanks, John. Back to the numbers. Aid groups including the United Nations, that are working in Gaza, cite those numbers of the health ministry. Are they wrong to do that?
They can make their own decisions about what numbers they want to cite. We're not going to cite them.
The State Department is also using these numbers internally. Sorry.
I was going to actually mention that. Thank you, Raquel. I mean, the State Department has cited those numbers.
Has cited them in the past, but what we've seen
is the administration's position that it is now Hamas is now manipulating the numbers now, but not before.
Well, do you remember that attack on the hospital? And what did the Gaza Ministry of Health put out? Something like 500. They slapped the number 500 on it, within the hour of that attack. And of course, the same Ministry of Health said it was an Israeli airstrike. So we know that's not true. And we've now since found out that the numbers aren't that high either. They never got up to 500. Now, it was at least a couple of hundred, and that's terrible, and that's atrocious, and that's sad. And we all obviously grieve with the families and loved ones who are affected by that. But the numbers are not reliable. They're just not reliable. And I don't need to tell you how to do your jobs, but if you're going to report casualty figures out of Gaza, I would frankly recommend you don't choose numbers put out by an organization that's run by a terrorist organization.
Go ahead, Raquel.
Okay, thank you so much, Karine and John. So besides saying that he doesn't have confidence in these numbers, the president went further to say that innocents will die and that this is the price of the war. You also said that.
I have indeed.
Yeah, don't you think this is insensitive? There being very harsh criticism about it. For example, the Council of American Islamic Relations said it was deeply disturbed and called on the president to apologize. Would the president apologize, and does he regret saying something like that?
What's harsh is the way Hamas is using people as human shields. What's harsh is taking a couple of hundred hostages and leaving families anxious, waiting and worrying to figure out where their loved ones are. What's harsh is dropping in on a music festival and slaughtering a bunch of young people just trying to enjoy an afternoon. I could go on and on. That's what's harsh. That is what's harsh. And being honest about the fact that there have been civilian casualties and that there likely will be more is being honest, because that's what war is. It's brutal, it's ugly, it's messy. I've said that before. The president also said that yesterday. Doesn't mean we have to like it. And it doesn't mean that we're dismissing any one of those casualties. Each and every one is a tragedy in its own right. And each and every one we should try to prevent. And that is why we're in close contact with our Israeli counterparts, to do everything we can to help them minimize the risk to civilians that are in harm's way. It would be helpful if Hamas would let them leave their homes, leave areas, not shelter in tunnels underneath their houses and in hospitals, and let them get out. Let them get out of Gaza if they want to leave. We know that there are thousands waiting to leave Gaza writ large, and Hamas is preventing them from doing it. That is what is harsh.
Another question, if I may, because Israel has a dispute now with the UN Secretary General. I would like to know what is the White House position on that, because also he's revoking visas from a UN representative in the middle of the war. So what is the position of this administration on Israeli?
Can you repeat the first part of that? I missed it.
Yeah, Israel dispute with Guterres, UN General Secretary. What is the
you mean his comments?
Yes, exactly. And then he's revoking visa right now from a UN representative in a time of war. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we'll let the Secretary General speak for himself and speak for his words. I think President Biden has spoken repeatedly and consistently about where we are, including yesterday out there in the Rose Garden, and I'd leave it at that.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Can you be any more specific about how soon U.S. funding for Israel might lapse if Congress doesn't take action? I know you said it's difficult to estimate, but are we talking days, weeks, months?
It's difficult to know because it's driven by the pace of operations and the security assistance that's flowing and their expenditure rate. I'd say the same thing about Ukraine. I just know that time's not on our side. The runway's getting shorter with every passing week. We need that supplemental funding.
And just briefly, as you know, my colleague Evan Gershkovich turned 32 in prison today. Any update on his case? And is there any concern that the focus on American hostages in Gaza could distract from efforts to release him?
There's not going to be any distraction about our efforts to get Evan or Paul home. I should say Evan and Paul home. That work continues. I wish I had an update for you. I don't, except to say that the team has not stopped working on both of them and trying to get them out. But we just don't have a negotiation to speak to and no progress to make. But it is very much an active effort. And again, we our thoughts continue to be with both families.
Admiral, as you know, Al Jazeera journalist, while Deji was found and was killed by an Israeli airstrike yesterday,
He always looks like a creeper.
was told to take refuge at a camp where they'd be safe, and it happened while our bureau chief was reporting live on air. This is coming as reports are emerging that the Secretary of State also told Al Jazeera to tone down its coverage of the war in Gaza. Does the president believe that targeting Al Jazeera journalists and their families should end?
The president doesn't believe that targeting journalists at all in any way is appropriate, but I can't speak to the specifics of that case. I've seen the reporting, and certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. I mean, that's just horrible. But I can't speak to the circumstances in which that strike occurred. But make no mistake, the president believes strongly in what you all do for a living and how you
Why is he always doing crab hands? Like, it's weird. My hands don't naturally do this. I don't know.
Talking about Al Jazeera journalists specifically in light of the reports that Secretary Blinken approached
Look at the guy on the left.
the government asking us to tone down our coverage.
So you're asking me in the context of like that we have some kind of beef with Al Jazeera? Yes. I'll let the secretary and their staff speak to his conversations in the region. I won't do that. We recognize Al Jazeera as a valuable voice and an outlet that has incredible reach in the region and beyond. I don't need to tell you that. It's truly a global network, and we value the work that you do.
Just a quick question, just because the Committee to Protect Journalists says that at least 24 journalists have been killed in Gaza trying to cover this story. Are you concerned that Israel is trying to silence journalists who are trying to tell both sides of this story, including our Al Jazeera Arabic bureau chief?
I've not seen any indication whatsoever that Israel is going after journalists, in particular because of them trying to tell the story. I've seen absolutely zero evidence of that. That's an unfounded allegation.
Admiral, do you have any update at all on the progress of the attempts to have hostages freed?
Nothing that I can speak to today, no.
And the president said yesterday that if he has conveyed to the prime minister that if there is any way to buy some time to free these hostages, that there should be a humanitarian pause. But if there is no progress, how long should that pause last?
It should last as long as we need it to last to get the hostages out. But to Kevin's question, I mean, a pause is by definition temporary and perhaps localized. Again, we can't assume that all these hostages are in the same place or in the same sets of conditions. And while I don't have anything to specifically report out to you today, I can promise you, to your question of no progress, I can tell you that we're working on it very hard with our partners in the region. We want to see all those hostages released.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is, does Hamas need to show some effort to release more of these hostages in order to justify a humanitarian pause?
Well, again, that gets into negotiating tactics, and I'm not going to do that. I mean, it would be foolhardy for me and dangerous if we started negotiating here in public in the briefing room about how those hostages how we can work to get them out. We need to keep that in private diplomatic channels, but the work is ongoing and aggressively so.
And Hamas recently said that 50 of the hostages have been killed in Israeli bombing raids since the conflict began. You talked a lot about the fact that the U.S. doesn't trust the numbers that are coming from Hamas, but do you have any way to independently verify whether that figure is correct or not?
No.
Good, Dan.
Thanks, Green. Thank you, Admiral. On the visit of the Chinese foreign minister, sorry if I missed it, but did you say if we can expect the president to drop by on that meeting tomorrow?
I don't have anything on the president's calendar to speak to.
Go, Jake.
Thank you, Corinne, and thank you, Admiral. I just want to start off by saying anyone who's got beef with Kimberly is going to have to deal with me first.
I'm sorry?
Anyone who's got beef with Kimberly is going to have to go through me first.
Okay.
That's why
I consider myself fair warned then.
Yeah. I've got one question and one follow-up regarding the two-state solution. What is the president's vision for what that would...
This guy's simping for another reporter in the room. This was his brave stance to impress her. He's willing to defend her. If anybody wants to go after that ugly woman, you got to go through him first. Okay, buddy. Nobody's fighting you for that girl.
President Biden has believed in for a very, very long time.
Get your girl, man. Be the knight in shining armor. My guy, we support you.
Remain a difficult task. But what we hope is that it's not illusory, that it's not impossible. But what that could actually look like once we can get folks to the table, I mean, all that would have to, that will come in the future.
I can't let it go. That was hilarious.
What the parameters would look like right now.
Okay, so there's a Gallup poll that came out about a month ago that shows 72% of Palestinians are against a two-state solution, the highest it's been since they started polling this question, I believe. And furthermore, they showed 84% don't have confidence in this current administration's ability to bring about a peace agreement. How do you work with those kind of numbers?
We just keep working towards the goal. I mean, recognize that there's different opinions out there, but we don't enact policy. We don't pursue the potential and the promise for peace and security in the Middle East based on opinion polls.
Last question, Lily.
Thank you. Why do the president believes that the recently announced India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor threatens some players in the Middle East?
Say again.
President has said it was last week twice that this is an instinct that the IMEC corridor announced with the G20 summit may have precipitated Hamas terrorist attack against Israel. So my question is...
I think you misunderstood him. What he said was that he believed that the normalization process and the agreement that we were trying to reach between Israel and Saudi Arabia for normalization, which we believe is an important stepping stone to getting to a two-state solution, was what may have motivated Hamas to conduct those attacks. I think you misunderstood what he actually said.
One more question.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
That's up to Karine. Karine says yes.
Has Canada shared with you any evidence of its allegations against India?
I won't talk about intelligence matters one way or the other. Certainly not from here. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Admiral.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right, Colleen, good to see you.
Has the new speaker been invited to the White House? And is the president concerned about working with the new speaker given his track record on gun control, on abortion, on the 2020 election?
So a couple of things. So upon the speaker's election, we invited him today, it's actually happening right now, to a bipartisan briefing with leadership and relevant committee chairs and ranking members and on the president's supplemental national security, obviously, package. And so that's happening right now, I think. It's still happening. And so the speaker is here, and he did join that briefing. And the other questions. So the president was asked yesterday about 2020, and the president, I think, answered it pretty straightforward. You heard him say that when it came to the 2020 election, we had more than 60 judges who basically threw those cases out of the court or proved it to not be true. Right when it came to the accusations that the elections were not, I guess, real, whatever, however they said it in 2020. But also, a Trump administration said the 2020 election was the safest, was the safest election that we've ever had, right? And you heard that from the Trump administration. And the president also said that, he understands the Constitution. So the president answered that question. Look, more broadly as it relates to the speaker, the president has said that once Congress, the House conference, was able to get their affairs in order after spending 22 days to pick a speaker in their chaos that we have seen them do the last 22 days, once they figured that out, he would be willing to work with them in good faith to get things done on behalf of the American people. We've been able to do really big things in a bipartisan way, whether it's the Chips and Science Act, whether it's the infrastructure law. We've been able to do that to deliver for the American people. The president wants to do that. He wants to continue that progress. And let's not forget, in the midterms, the American people were very clear. They want to continue to see that type of bipartisanship. They want us to continue to grow the economy. And so that's the president's focus. He's willing to do that. He's willing to take up the speaker's words on working on common ground to make that happen.
Is the president confident the House, since it's in order again, can get the supplemental taken care of before the
So a couple of things there. As we know, we've heard from many Republicans even on the supplemental, especially the national security supplemental, and how we've seen bipartisan support. And so that's really important. And I have a couple of folks that I want to actually read out. Leader McConnell said our national security priorities from Russia to Hamas to China are all connected, and this requires a worldwide approach. Senate Armed Services Ranking Member Roger Wicker said he absolutely supports linking Ukraine and Israel aid, and that is...
Holy crap, this press briefing's taking all day, and they're just not saying anything. It's driving me nuts.
Susan Collins said each of these four elements are critical. So we have seen a strong bipartisan support for the national security supplemental. That includes Ukraine and Israel. And so there is no reason we should not be able to move forward to get that done. Get some.
Big screen.
Sorry.
Behind me.
Sorry.
Big screen. So Speaker Johnson's voting record shows that he is strongly opposed to gun safety legislation. Even when Democrats controlled Congress, they could not pass the universal background checks or the assault weapons ban. So what realistically can get done with this speaker? How can a deal around the speaker?
Look, I hear the question. I mean, look what just happened last night. Look what happened. In Maine, in a small community, I think about 30,000 people, and clearly, the gunman is still at large. And so it's a dynamic situation on the ground. But as far as we know, 18 people were killed. And we should not have weapons of war in our communities, in our schools, and anywhere in our communities. And this is an epidemic. This is a gun violence epidemic. And the time is now to act. And here's the thing, Speaker Johnson and all of the members on the Hill, Republicans in Congress, they have the ability to stop this. They have the ability to put forth legislation to deal with this issue. They can change this. They can help save lives. And we're just not going to take, it's great to hear.
Yeah, it's the ultra MAGA Republicans' fault that this guy went out there and did that. Okay.
With this tragedy and the victims who are clearly dealing with this tragedy, obviously we want them to make sure that they know that they're in our thoughts and prayers. But that's not enough. That's not enough. And so we were able to do a bipartisan piece of legislation to deal with gun violence, a piece of legislation, obviously that's law that we hadn't seen in 30 years. So there's ways to get there. But executive actions is not enough. We got to do more. And just because, it may be difficult, it may be hard, doesn't mean that we stop. Doesn't mean that we stop fighting, and that doesn't mean that the president is going to stop saying over and over again that we have to stop this gun violence epidemic.
Is there other executive action that the president plans
I
to
don't
sign?
have anything to read out at this time. We don't have anything to read out at this time. As you know, there is a Office to Prevent Gun Violence, which is a historic office.
It's not gun violence, you dumbass. It's a bad guy with a gun, and we don't have enough good guys with guns because you dumbasses keep restricting our Second Amendment. You don't know shit, KJP. Don't ever become a victim because you'll have to have an ultra MAGA conservative come save your ass, come pull you out of the fire, douchebag.
Signed 24 of them, but we need to do more. We need to sign legislation into law. We need to build on the bipartisan action that was taken last year. Go ahead, Kevin.
Just to clarify, is the speaker meeting the president today?
I don't have anything to read out on the president on a visit with the president. What I can say is that the speaker is indeed here. He was, when I walked out, getting a briefing with other members of Congress on obviously the national security supplemental funding package, which we believe is an important package to move forward and has strong bipartisan support.
And was yesterday the first time that President Biden has ever spoken to Mike Johnson, or do they have any relationship?
So I don't have any engagement to list out. I can say that when there was the congressional picnic, Congressman Johnson was here, and then I believe there was an event, an LSU event here not too long ago that the president shouted out. Then obviously Congressman Johnson, because he had attended. I just don't have any other specific engagement to comment.
And the Gun Violence Prevention Office that you just mentioned, are you able to give us any sort of brief? I know it's been in place for a little while now. What exactly has it been doing? Like, what are the meetings like? Are they talking about executive actions? Are they talking about potential new legislation? Are they soliciting recommendations? What exactly has it been up
So
to?
one thing that I can say is Greg Jackson, who's one of the deputies of the office, he convened as it relates to what happened, the horrific actions of last night. He convened federal agencies. He did that this morning to discuss federal resources already deployed and ensure readiness to meet any additional community needs as people of Lewiston work through the unimaginable grief that they may be experiencing. So we are in direct contact with folks on the ground there, and that is something that the office certainly is being part of. I don't have any other executive actions. I was just asked about that. But our focus right now is to continue to call on Congress to take action. We need to see legislation. We need to make sure that weapons of war are not in communities. That's what we're seeing right now. We need to make sure that weapons of war are not in community. We need to take more action that are common sense.
Well, if we got any details about the actual event, we'd be able to tell you whether or not that's a weapon of war based on whether or not it's fully automatic. My guess is it's probably not, and that just makes you talking out of your ass again. KJP, it's stupid. It's so stupid.
Seeing here, they can.
God.
At the Capitol on the Hill. Catch you.
Do you anticipate the president going to Lewiston, Maine, when things settle down?
I don't have anything. I don't certainly want to get ahead of the president's schedule. Don't have anything to share. It is a dynamic situation on the ground. I think the priority, our focus, is to make sure that Maine and local enforcement has the resources that it needs. That's what the president wants to make sure happens. We got to catch this killer, right? Bring him to justice. That is incredibly important as well. And so we are with the community on the ground, clearly, and certainly are going. The president wants to make sure that they have the resources that they need in this really, really critical time. Okay, Nancy.
Thanks, Kareem. What are some of the concrete goals of the Office of Gun Violence Reduction?
So, look, I think having this historic office is incredibly important. Making sure it shows how critical we see this epidemic that's happening across, certainly across the country, and want to make sure that we do everything that we can to save lives. Look. One of the things as well that we want to do is make sure that we offer any type of emotional, mental assistance. That's going to be done through the office. We want to see what other executive actions can be done. We believe that legislation is the way to go, but there might be additional executive actions that can be done. So we want to make sure that we look at, that's one of the things the office is doing, looking at all of the potential options that we can do to continue to build on what the president has been able to do. Having conversation with communities on the ground, listening to them, taking in advice on what it is that they further actions that can be taken on the ground. So there is, this office is, I think, critical at this moment as what we're seeing with these communities really going through this horrific epidemic. When you see guns being the #1 killer of children, we have to take action. And so I think this is when you think about the office, and you think about what it does, preventing gun violence, it's a way for the president to show that he's taking this very seriously. It's a way to try and figure out what else can be done to really stop this epidemic, and also work with communities on the ground.
And is there a time frame for how long it's going to take this office to figure out what should be done before they start aggressively trying to implement?
I mean, I don't have a timeline. Look, as I said, we're going to see if there's additional executive action, but honestly, it is for Congress. We have to see law, right? We have to see ways for Congress to to take action on making sure that there aren't weapons of war on the street, right? To make sure that there is common sense legislation out there that Americans want to see. We have to actually see legislative actions to really deal with this issue. Build on the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. We need to do that. That's how we're going to deal with this epidemic. This office certainly is going to be there for communities. Certainly we're going to see what else we can be doing from certainly this side of Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to do everything that we can from here, but really the answer is Congress has to act. They have to take action. Okay, go ahead, Peter.
If I can ask you very quickly about the new House Speaker, who is apparently in the building as we speak right now. Does the President view Speaker Mike Johnson as a MAGA extremist?
Look, I would have to let the Speaker speak for himself. Obviously, I think he has defined himself as that way. So he's going to have to answer that question for himself. What we can say is we want to move forward on making sure that we get the work done on behalf of the American people. The President is willing to do that in a good faith fashion, as we have been able to do that on many bipartisan laws now that the President was able to push through Congress with Democrats and Republicans. That's what we want to see.
And just to be clear, I asked that because the President last month, when he was speaking at in Arizona in honoring his late friend John McCain, said their extreme agenda, referring to members of what he described the MAGA Republican extremists, their extreme agenda, if carried out, will fundamentally alter the institutions of American democracy as we know it. Does that concern apply to Speaker Mike Johnson, given the leading role he played in trying to overturn the election in 2020?
So look, the Speaker has spoken to it himself publicly about where he sees his views ideologically. I'm not going to get ahead of that. And also, I'm not going to prejudge. I'm just not going to prejudge what the relationship is going to be like now that he's Speaker. I'm just not.
So what he did in the past, you're willing to relieve that if he acts in good faith going forward?
We want to make sure that the President wants to make sure that we get the business of the American people done. There is so much to get done. I was just asked about the National Security Supplemental. We need to get that done, right? We need to make sure in 21 days there is not a shutdown. And that is the job, right, of Congress to make sure that they get that done. Look, there is... the moment that we're in right now should not be about partisanship. The American people don't want to see that. They want to see us work in a bipartisan way. The President, as you know, is a president that believes in bipartisanship. He believes on bringing both sides together. He has done that in the last 2 years. And so he wants to continue that. But as far as the speakership, look, we're going to see how that goes. That is, I'm not going to prejudge what that relationship is going to look like moving forward. All right, go ahead, Kevin.
You said you don't want to prejudge, but the Biden campaign put out a statement yesterday calling Johnson MAGA, Mike Johnson extreme, and a loyal foot soldier of President Trump. I mean, does that sort of break with your message here?
Look, I'm not going to speak to what the campaign does. That's the campaign. I'm going to speak to here right now in this administration, speaking for the President in this administration. And what I can say is the President, and this is something that he has said himself, that he wants to work in good faith with whoever they had chose to be Speaker. It happens to be Speaker Johnson, and he wants to deliver for the American people. That is something that the President has said himself over the last couple of weeks as well. And so that is going to be our focus. That's what we want to get done. There is a lot of work to get done. We have two supplementals that are out there. One is the domestic one is the national security supplemental. They are urgent. We believe are urgent needs as we speak about our national security, as we talk about disaster relief, right, child care. All of these things are important to the American people, and that's what the President's going to focus on. Gosh, there's a lot of hands. Go ahead, John, in the back.
As it relates to the new Speaker, is keeping the government funded a major test for this new Speaker? If there is a government shutdown, do you essentially say, well, it's all the new Speaker's fault? How do you view that?
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. We know that we have 21 days to make sure, and it's their job, right? We've been very clear. It is their job, Congress, to make sure the government stays open. They have 21 days to do that. Now they have a Speaker. Now they have to make sure that we do that continues, that the government stays open, that we don't have our military or federal employees not getting paid on critical programs that are out there that the American people need. That needs to continue. And so we'll see what happens. Again, 21 days to get that done. As it relates to other priorities that the president has that we believe are bipartisan priorities. I just talked about disaster relief. I talked about child care. All of those things are bipartisan, has bipartisan support. So we believe those things can get done. I'm getting pulled by the team here. Okay, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Okay, go ahead. You have the last question, Ken. Nope, right here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is currently in China and met with President Xi yesterday. Has the White House coordinated with him at all on this visit, and did the White House sanction this trip?
I just don't have anything to speak to on that trip. I would refer you to the State Department and also to the governor's office. I just don't have anything to share on that particular trip. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow.
Well, lies from the podium at the White House. It lasted way too long. I cannot stand that nonsense. I miss Jen Psaki. At least it was, I don't know, it was like much more entertaining. Just, I don't know. Stupid KJP saying a whole bunch of nothing. Bunch of nothing. Cassandra, am I tripping or does she have pit stains? She probably did. I'm sure she was sweating bullets up there. Her and Kirby Face. Oh, Captain Hot Dog Fingers. I don't know why they bring him in every day. He's just a clone of her. All they do is refer all the reporters to some other department that doesn't do live press briefings. Like, I don't know. When people ask me questions that I don't know the answer to, I'll just refer them to the library. I'll refer them to Google. I'm sorry, I'll have to refer you to Google on that because I don't know anything. Like, what is the point of her job? Stupid. So stupid. And I understand she's doing what she's told to do from the administration of liars and scumbags, but according to her job duties, she's not fulfilling them. Not at all. She is terrible at her job. Let's see. Dish Lady, wouldn't it be lovely to, with our chat family inside of the press briefing room? We would be a riot. We would be a riot. A riot of hooligans. We'd be way too much. They would never be able to keep up with us. For sure. Well, we're going to move on to the videos that we have here, where we're going to actually discuss what's going on and not refer people to other departments. We're going to be starting off with a video titled ACLU Sues to Protect the Spread of HIV. This video is a Newsmax video. I can't think of the reporter's name. He's mildly humorous. It's got a plethora of subjects inside this video, and I figured it'd be a good warm-up before we dive into everything else we got going on. Just be sure if you guys want to check that out, I'll post the links in the chat once again. Sooner than later, if you want to try and get a spooky shirt before Halloween, I'm not even sure if they would make it there if you were to order today, but better sooner than later. You can wear it all the way to Thanksgiving. You could always wear it next year, but this is this year's version of our spooky hooligan shirts. I just want to remind you hooligans of that. Let's go ahead and get this started. First, we need some more Screaming Goat. I can still hear the lies in my head. Alright, now let's get it started.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. ACLU is suing the state of Tennessee to make it legal for prostitutes to knowingly spread HIV, a deadly disease. The ACLU says the law trying to prevent this in Tennessee is racist. The group tweeted last night, "We're suing Tennessee for their aggravated prostitution statute that targets people with HIV with harsh punishment and lifetime sex offender registration. The law is unconstitutional and disproportionately affects black and transgender women, elevating engaging in sex work from a misdemeanor to a felony based on somebody's HIV status, a protected disability." So claims the ACLU. They believe there should be no penalty for deliberately infecting somebody with HIV and giving them AIDS. The equity movement in a nutshell: protect the criminals and the people that are doing terrible things to society, and to hell with the victims. Terrifying to imagine the ACLU is so race obsessed they're willing to sacrifice human lives in the name of equity. But again, not much shocks us these days. Up next, Democrat Dan Goldman, the poor man's Adam Schiff, says it's not Biden's fault for opening the borders and telling illegals to surge here. Watch Goldman say this with a straight face.
The Republicans are trying to sabotage the Biden administration's efforts
to fix the issues at the border.
We're trying. Yes, we've been screaming about finishing the wall and ranting about this illegal chaos for the last 3 years. It's all been a ruse. We really are trying to sabotage as Biden tries so hard to keep the border closed after telling everybody to surge the border as a candidate in 2020. Up next, just as bad, Eric Swalwell, MSNBC, on MSNBC, screaming about democracy. Of course, it's going to die if Trump gets elected, he says.
And that's what we have to do in this upcoming election, is just get past this election, and democracy has a chance to live forever, but it also has a chance to die.
It's a brilliant show, by the way. If you don't watch it, it's just...
That sounds like Hyena Harris talking.
Wash over you. Aren't you loving this democracy? Though major corporations, media, or intel agencies chose the last president that we have. That's why they scream democracy all the time over on the Swalwell side. They are insecure about how badly they've perverted it in their own favor. And finally, remember this gut-wrenching video? 2 Las Vegas teens laughing and purposely running over and killing a 64-year-old retired police chief. It's one of the worst videos we've seen this year, I would say. Well, these 2 schmucks were in Clark County Court this week. And you can see right here, there they are, laughing, joking with one another, and they're flipping off the victim's family. Both teens, 16 and 18, being charged with murder as adults. I'm hoping that they find the shower room at Carson City just as entertaining as they do that day in court.
Well, like I said, a plethora of news there. It's now discrimination if you don't let people go out there and spread HIV. You're discriminating against, I don't know, dumb groups of people, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand how it works. My brain just doesn't get dumb enough. I can't stoop down to their level to comprehend what's going on there. It's no good. And then we were just talking about those 2 assholes who were running around in a stolen car running people over multiple times. Multiple times it happened. And that kid, even though, I mean, he's 18 now. He's not really a kid, but you know what I mean. He thinks he's getting out. He thinks he's just getting past it. It's like 3 or 4 counts of like attempted manslaughter or something like that. And then 1 count of whatever they charged him with for killing that retired officer on a bike. Because, I mean, they killed that guy. So he's either getting murder or manslaughter for that. And then they're sitting there laughing, flipping off the family and joking and stuff. I'm wondering if there's like some gassing up going on where the 16-year-old probably is not going to get anything. It's a 16-year-old. And their part in the whole deal was riding passenger, videotaping the whole thing. Yeah, I guess they're saying that they were encouraging it and stuff. But when you get to court, you being encouraged by a 16-year-old to do bad things doesn't mean a whole lot. They're probably going to let that 16-year-old go. Maybe some community service, probably some probation. They'll be out there smoking weed, selling crack, and stealing cars again. And that's just part of the justice system. That's how that works when you're 16. It's easier to cut them loose than to house minors. Because a lot of times the facility housing the minors can be sued for every little thing. Especially nowadays where your feelings matter more than anything else. So they're most likely going to cut that 16-year-old loose. They're going to get near nothing and cut loose. But that 18-year-old is seeing the 16-year-old behave this way, and they're like, yeah, we're getting out. We're getting out. No, you're not, buddy. You're 18 years old. They're going to rough you up when you get inside. You're going to try and play cool with the other inmates, and it ain't going to work. Because most people in jail are grown-ass people. So when you get these young little 16 or 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds in there who are walking around like this, like they're tough guys, you get roughed up. You'll get roughed up. You don't reach 200 pounds, you better shut the hell up and sit in the back of population. Otherwise, you're getting roughed up. They're going to take your tray from you. You're not getting TV time. You're not going to be snickering when you're in jail. They won't even let you sit down to play spades, buddy. You're about to endure some reality going on as soon as he gets inside. He's not getting off. He's not. I know we see it happen all the time in New York and California and Washington State and stuff. Where these people do bad things and they get cut loose. This guy was running people over with a car. They're not gonna cut him loose. It's not like he went into JCPenney and stole a rack of hoodies. No. he's getting something, and he's going to look like a big idiot sitting there laughing and smirking and doing all that crap. On top of that, when you do get charged for criminal charges, a lot of times they give you an opportunity to apologize to the family that was a victim in your crime. And based on how you handle that really affects how the judge sentences you. I mean, the judge has an idea of what they want to give you, but right before sentencing is handed in a lot of situations, all the situations I've ever been in court, the judge asks you, do you have anything you would like to say to the family? And if you stand up and you smile at them with your t-shirt that says like killer on it, like that one young kid from years ago who did that, the judge will slap you around with a full sentencing. They will give you the full penalty of whatever the hell you're facing. Now, if you say sorry and you cry and I'm such a terrible person, I want to change, and a lot of people do that, sometimes the judge will sympathize. Most of the time they don't. They just want to see you say sorry before they give you the sentence in mind. If you cry and stuff, and a lot of criminals do, sometimes they will sympathize with you. If you're a female, they'll absolutely sympathize with you if you go in there and cry. You'll have your way. You'll have your way. We've seen women like kill their own kids and go in there and cry, and the judge is like, it's okay, we'll give you 2 years probation. That's just the way it is. But if you're a dude, you can cry and it might work. Chances are it won't work. But if you're laughing at the family of people that you killed their family member, nah, you're doing max. You're doing max. I'm expecting this judge to give this kid max, at least for the murder or killing of that retired, I can't remember if he was a sheriff or what he was. He was something. He was something. But that's not gonna fly. That's not gonna fly. Those other charges, fluctuation between max and minimum. Killing that officer, that retired officer on the bike, he's getting max. I guarantee it. I hope there's a follow-up, because I guarantee he's getting max. You're not going to be flipping off the family of people where you killed their family member and the judge is like, yeah, that's fine. No worries. No worries. We're letting him go. It's good. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah, okay. Okay. I guarantee he's getting max. And he's going to find out when he gets inside. Because you can either participate in society out here in public, where we know the laws of the land, how to play the game in order to make it home safe every day. Well, inside, they have a system just like that. It's another version of society where the big eat the small. A lot of that goes on. And you can live in either society based on your decisions. But there is structure no matter which path you take. So being young and stupid and thinking you're going to do whatever you want like you're the king around this bitch, nah, that's not going to fly. That only goes so far. You either do that out here with us and we send you to jail because you can't just do whatever you want to all of us. Or you can go into jail and behave that way and you'll still get roughed up. Because if you're not telling the everyday average citizen what they're going to do, what makes you think you're going to tell inmates and criminals and felons and bad people what the hell they're going to do? You're not bossing anybody around, especially when you weigh 98 pounds and you're over there snickering with this big gross tattoo on your face. It looks like shit after you went and stole cars and ran over pedestrians. Yeah, I'm sure the average inmate's going to buddy up with you. That kid's going to be eating shit by next week, I'm sure. We'll see how it goes. I hope there's a follow-up, bastards. Anyways, Cassandra, yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, if he goes to prison, there is chances he could be flamboyantly assaulted. We're going with that. There is a chance that could happen if he goes to prison. In jail, it doesn't really happen like that. And the reason it happens in prison is contrary to popular belief. It's not because of the lack of women in jail or in prison. It's because there's no way to hurt you worse. Killing somebody, it's all over. If anything, you're giving them a vacation from the struggle of life, which is why we have jail in the first place. So, second best thing is take everything they have. Take their dignity, take their humanity, and that's why it happens inside. And that kid, he better shut the hell up and sit down, because he's not going to like it if it goes down that path. Just saying. Let's read through the chat really quick, and we will be moving forward to the next video. Let's see. Mr. B. New, the sentence is already there most of the time before you hit the stand. Oh yeah. The prosecuting attorney usually will negotiate with your attorney and the judge in the prosecutor's office before you even get off the bench in the hallway, and they got their minds made up how things are going to go. But you could always dig that hole deeper on your behavior in court, from what I've witnessed. Let's see. Just reading through the chat. Old BR, how many defense attorneys do you think will cycle through those guys? It depends. It depends on their experience. If they're inexperienced, they're going to take their public defender that the court gave to them, and that public defender is just going to make things go smoothly. They're not going to defend anything. They're not going to work on a real plea deal or anything. They're going to try and wrap that case up in time to have a good golf outing on the weekend. That's what's going to happen. Now, if he is experienced and he doesn't like the plea deals he's getting, he could fire his attorney and prolong the court hearings. I have seen that. There's somebody I used to know from high school who was in jail all the damn time. He was missing school because he was in jail all the time, and I don't even know if he ever graduated. But when I went in the first time, he just happened to be in the cell that I was in, and he was that kind of guy where he did not pay for an attorney. He asked all of his family members to put their house up to bail him out and things like that, put the car note on and all that kind of stuff to get him out of jail. And he would screw it up and go back, and like all this money was drained into him being free because all he did was screw it up. But he would go into court and he would work all of those little details. He would not have any money and still go to court 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times because if he didn't like the plea deal, he would fire his attorney, and you have the right to an attorney. And so then he would have to request a new one, and then they would have to hold a whole nother day in court, and he would drag it out and drag it out, and he would actually get charges dropped because of this, because they could never get to sentencing, because he would just cycle through all the attorneys. And when he did all the attorneys in that county, they'd have to import attorneys in from outer counties, which would prolong more things because they don't have time to drive all the way to town. It's really crazy how much stuff you can get for free by just being a pain in the ass. I like to just solve my problems immediately, which is not very great if you're going to court, because they offer you shitty plea deals up front, and you're going to take those plea deals because you just want it all to be over, and the court is banking on that. It is a whole mind fuck going through court. But those kind of people, those slimy people like those dudes we were seeing on the bench, if they know what they're doing, they could try and work the system off free public defenders to prolong the case to the point where everybody's so sick and tired of going to court for this guy and their problems and whatever. They might just give them lesser charges just to get it all over with. Hopefully that's not what happens, because he actually killed somebody. He needs to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, in my opinion. And I hope that they don't have a weak judge up there who's really just trying to get it all wrapped up before the golf time. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Guess MJ, it depends on the state. Yeah, absolutely. Just reading through really quick before we move forward. Wages, national death penalty for such things. I think there's a time and a place. I really hate to say that, but as long as we got pedophiles and stuff like that running loose, yeah, I do think there is people that are beyond redemption. I would love to see them try and turn a new leaf and everything. And like I say a lot, I wish that people would live long enough to see how evil they are, because I think going through hard times enough, and while getting older, because the older you get, the less you can endure. I think most people have come to that realization who are here today. The older you get, the more vulnerable you are to life. The less you want to go through hard things. Just because you overcome a hard time doesn't mean you want to go through it again, right? And I think that people who live poorly, as in poor choices, I think the consequences plus your humanity arriving through old age, I think when those things mix together, eventually you get to a point where you just can't endure the consequences of your bad decisions anymore, and you eventually become a decent person, an okay person, because you're no longer able to defend yourself in the world anymore. You've become maturely vulnerable. And so I think if people live long enough, they eventually become good people, because the consequences are just too rough on their existence after so long. I was kind of saying that about D-Live, because a lot of people don't like D-Live because of things that have happened. And the only reason I'm giving them a chance is because they reached out to us. They're doing right by us. If they want to burn us again, then, you know, we'll leave. It ain't no big deal. But I'm giving them a second chance. They might be turning over a new leaf, and they've never done anything wrong enough to me for me to say no. Now, that doesn't mean they can't, but that's how it is. I want to see you live long enough to be a decent person. With these kids, this kid ran over somebody with a stolen car until they were dead on the side of the road in front of everybody in broad daylight. This wasn't just a hit and run and leave before anybody sees us. They recorded the whole event. They're right there to where maybe they could be described as beyond redemption. I don't know. That's questionable, and it's not for me to judge. Now, pedophiles and people that hurt kids, people that hurt people on the internet and things like that, I don't know that they can be redeemed. I just don't. It's a flaw in my system. I just don't know that they can be redeemed. I don't know how long they would have to live to see the consequences of their ways. I just think they're stuck that way, and, well, they just need to be reset. They need a permanent reset. God's got to hit the reset button on them. That's just my 2 cents on it. I don't know. I don't know. Try to look at life from all angles as much as I can. Let's see. Just reading through before we move forward. Can't kill her. Now the Fed boys can't keep having unprotected sex in Tennessee. I'm saying they're the ones out there spreading it. DeRosa kind of like Trump's judge. Trump's judge is a piece of work. We're going to be covering a story about that here in a second. It's not the next one. It's coming up. It's coming up. Yeah, he's a terrible guy. Trump's judge is exactly what we would expect to be handed to President Trump. He is a piece of work. Charging him $10,000 for talking. For talking. Like, what a bastard. Let's see. DeRosa, that tattoo on his face is now a target. Yeah. It will be as soon as he gets inside. They're going to be treating him like a coloring book. That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Let's see. Grown 808. There should be an IQ test when you graduate or drop out of high school. If it's too low, they send you to an island. I mean, they kind of do in a sense. You end up in jail, and then you're stuck in this little pod with other people that have low IQs. Like, I don't know. It's not good. Just reading through. Fitzy, you're from the... Oh, you're... Wait a minute. Hold on. I don't know what you're saying. Because those people aren't in Maine. Captain Safety, they're going to be educated in prison. Yeah, they are. And it's unfortunate, but you're not wrong. What's up, Hydrodynamic? Happy freedom. There's somebody outside my apartment talking way too damn loud. Everybody thinks they want to be on the live. Till they're on the wrong side of it. Here, Juicer. Yeah, I know. I've heard all about D-Live and stuff, but just giving them a chance. Can you hear these people outside? If I have to go out there and yell at them, they're not going to like it. They're not going to like it. Everybody wants to be loud till I get loud, and then everybody wants to be like, look at that asshole over there. I'm going to make t-shirts. I'm the asshole in the room. What's up, Trig Crazy? Happy freedom. There's my favorite bigot. Appreciate you sliding through. So we're going to start on this next video here. It's titled, The FBI Was Blackmailing Old Man Walter. I don't know exactly what this all entails, but it is a Jesse Waters video, so should be entertaining. Let's go ahead and get this started.
Fox News alert. Everything Primetime has been saying about the FBI and the Biden family has just been confirmed. For years, we've told you the FBI knew everything the Bidens were up to. The cash, the Chinese diamonds, American policy for sale. Not only was Biden blackmailing other countries and other countries blackmailing him, but the FBI was blackmailing Biden. Senator Chuck Grassley just announced that the Federal Bureau of Investigation has had 40 informants inside the Biden family for the last 15 years. What does that mean? It's exactly what you think. 40 FBI informants, going back to the time Joe Biden was vice president, have been providing criminal information to FBI field offices throughout the country. 40 FBI informants have been feeding the Bureau exactly what Joe Biden, James Biden, and Hunter Biden have been doing all over the world. Primetime isn't sure the FBI had this many informants working on the Trump campaign. So, what does it mean that the FBI has had the Biden family wired? And what does it mean that the FBI hasn't done a thing? Well, it tells me that the FBI knows all of the president's dirty laundry and is blackmailing him. Because Senator Grassley also revealed that multiple FBI field offices tried to run this criminal information back to headquarters and were blocked at every corner. This criminal activity was shut down during the Trump impeachment, shut down before the last election, and it's still being shut down today. Grassley says FBI headquarters deliberately smeared criminal information coming from FBI informants about the Biden family as foreign disinformation, when in fact, after an exhaustive examination, there's never been any information that any of this has been foreign. Even the FBI informant that said the Bidens shook down Ukraine for a $10 million bribe, that was vetted and found not to be foreign disinformation. But it gets worse. The FBI's attempt to follow up on the $10 million Ukrainian Biden bribe was shut down. The FBI informant who said there's 17 tapes of Biden talking about bribes, that too has been shut down, despite that there's no evidence that this is foreign disinformation. And while all of this is going on, the FBI has been actively planting information against Donald Trump, doctoring emails and disseminating fake dossiers. The FBI used Biden to get revenge on Trump. They got a dirty politician elected so they could defeat a politician who caught them trying to frame him and fired their director. And now we have a compromised president in the White House being protected by a rogue gang of sick agents. And the American people are the real victims of this stupid inside game. You're paying more for everything, the border's wide open, and crime is sky high. And we have 2 proxy wars that Biden can't manage. All because the FBI believes it's more powerful than democracy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do...
I don't know. We need a big wipe. Just like old man Walter says, we need a big wipe. Everything on Capitol Hill smells bad. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. We need to redo all the 3-letter agencies. We need to just wipe the board with all those people. Get them new jobs at Walmart, greeting people or washing dishes at McDonald's or something, because they're not good at their job over on Capitol Hill, whether you're a 3-letter agency or some ridiculous politician. It's like we need to just start over. We need to roster of free agents and just redo the whole thing. We need a redo. It's all bad up there. And wipe them out, all of them. Exactly. We need a redo. So what, they want us to feel bad for old man Walter? FBI was spying on old man Walter? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then Hunter Biden and all that, they're all in it together. They're never going to let that stuff come out. They're never going to let it out. By the time they actually put out real information that would get old man Walter for treason, he'll already be gone. He'll be on to the next before we ever get information like that. They're too focused on taking Trump out because nobody listens to old man Walter, and nobody, I don't want to say nobody. The American people seem to really listen to Trump. That's why he can campaign and do rallies for 3 years straight without any kind of announcement that he was running for president, up until he did. And people show up, people listen, people watch, people buy his stuff, people donate money. Because the American people are for the Orange Eagle. Old man Walter, he's just a Walmart greeter for the White House. That's all he is. He just goes out there. We go, oh, are you banning guns? Oh, you're not? Okay, well, whatever then. And then we go on to the next thing. It's the only time we even cover him live is when he's talking about our Second Amendment. Otherwise, we don't even show him on the live because nobody wants to hear that nonsense. So they're not going to show anything that's going to show the downfall of Old Man Walter, because everybody that supports the Orange Eagle are going to get their hopes up that we're going to see the Orange Eagle again. So they're not going to do that. They're just going to keep demonizing the Orange Eagle, and they're going to keep hiding files on Old Man Walter. Matthew X-Files. What's really funny about that is we have an X-Files shirt with Old Man Walter and Hunter Biden. I'm waiting for OG to get back to me, making those designs. So we might have something like that coming out soon, because it is like the X-Files. There's always a mystery going on. Something not normal happening when it comes to the Old Man Walter administration. Let's read through the chat really quick and we're going to be moving forward. This next one is a follow-up on that Democrat, whatever he is, a representative who pulled the fire alarm when they were trying to figure out what to do to prevent the government shutdown. And he went and pulled the fire alarm to suspend the meeting or whatever, and then claimed he didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident. Well, we got a follow-up for that. Let's see. Dan, did we have to go down this rabbit trail? That's what everything is at this point. I don't even believe the mass shooting thing. There's so much stuff that doesn't make any kind of sense about that. I don't know. As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, this is just the gun grab thing. They were showing pictures. They were like, we don't know who he is or where he's from, how old he is, how he got the gun, how he got to where he was, how he's going to the other locations, why he's doing this, how much ammo he has. It just on and on. You don't know anything. Nobody knows anything. We all got phones with cameras and tracking devices and all this stuff, but nobody knows anything. The numbers are constantly changing. Last night it was 22 dead. This morning it was 16. And then I think on the White House press briefing they said 18. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Just big-ass mystery. Okay. Sounds like you glow hard to me. That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like you glow hard in the dark. You glow hard in the daytime. I don't know. I don't believe it. Let's see. What's up, High Plains Drifter? Happy freedom. Hydrodynamic. The FBI has left the chat. Oh, I doubt it. Let's read through really quick. Two Storms. Biden keeps calling me a terrorist already. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that's really hard for people to comprehend is Old Man Walter only talks to Blue Team. Every time he speaks publicly, it's fuck the Ultra MAGA and this is what Blue Team needs to do. KJP does the same exact thing. When Trump comes out, he just speaks to the American people. He doesn't say, oh, well, if you guys voted for Old Man Walter, you're a bunch of pieces of shit and I don't care about you. He doesn't say that. He talks bad about Blue Team on Capitol Hill. But I've never heard him say anything bad about Blue Team in the streets, as far as regular citizens. Of course, condemning radical protesters and stuff like that. That's not necessarily Blue Team. A lot of people on that roster are Blue Team. Most of them, if not all of them. But he's not condemning the Blue Team specifically. He talks shit about politicians on Capitol Hill and radical people that are hurting the general public of America. People who are turning their kids' wiener inside out. People who turn their own wiener inside out. People who are burning shit down in the streets. He condemns those people. But otherwise, he is speaking to all of us. And that's what the president should be. He's the president of all of us. Not just if we voted for him. Which, people can't wake up to their own bullshit. Especially if they're on Blue Team. Those soft and stupid people out there, they can't tell when they're standing in shit no matter how bad it smells. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. But like I said, if you make bad choices and you live long enough, eventually the consequences will eat away at you and you'll just have to fold and start making better decisions. Otherwise, the consequences may kill you one day. I mean, look at drunk drivers. Look at people who text and drive. Doesn't seem like a big deal. The consequences could be your life. Then you look at big things. Driving over people in your stolen car, right? You look at things like that. The consequences will catch up to you. They absolutely will. Make good choices and reap those benefits of being a good person. I can't tell you what it is. I can't show you what it is. It's something you can only experience by being a good person. Go out there, be a good person. The benefits are worthwhile, I promise. I promise. Let's see. Sure crazy the shooter had a MAGA hat and an AR-15. I haven't confirmed. I haven't got any confirmation it was a MAGA hat, but yeah, I see the story they're painting out there. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I really think it's crazy. I knew this was coming last night when I seen the stuff. The whole reason that this person who's supposedly out there doing this mass shooting and all this stuff, he's going from location to location. I say supposedly because nobody has any definite details on it. If he came across a good person with a gun, that would absolutely be a hurdle to be had in order to continue this rampage he's going on. And they're like, oh, he killed all these people and he shot all these others. It was like 40 injured and 22 killed. None of them had guns. None of them were good guys with guns. I had to look up like Maine's gun laws. Does Maine suck for gun laws? Where's the good guys with guns at? And I knew right then. I was like, this is a gun grab. This is to say guns are big and scary. Well, if we had more good guys with guns, bad guys with guns like that, there would not be mass shootings. You might get one or two off, and then somebody, good guy with gun, will show up and stop you. Or at least try. It's better than being a victim. And like I said during the press briefing, if somebody drowns, we don't try and ban the fucking water. We start teaching our kids to swim because we don't want that to happen to us or people we care about. Why the hell is it that when there's a shooting, we're going to ban the guns? How about we create more good guys with guns? How about that? I might be a rocket science. Like somebody call Elon and maybe my IQ points are higher than I think they are. But that just makes a lot of sense to me. Gun violence can only be stopped with gun violence. I mean, unless we're talking about pressing buttons and turning countries into glass. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. So we need to stop all these damn laws that are preventing good guys from having guns. I think we did it. We solved it. Somebody call the White House. We fixed it. Solved the problem. We need to have people doing proper gun training in every city and every state. You want to stop mass shootings? Create more good guys with guns. Period. Anyways, we're going to read the chat really quick, and then we're going to be moving forward to this next video about they're calling him Fire Marshal Jamal Bowman? I don't know. Fire Marshal Jamal. Let's see. Just reading through. Cassandra, the peace you get in your heart from doing what's right is your reward. It's true. I think it starts there. I think there's a lot more benefits. Not that you can guarantee. That one you can guarantee. Knowing that you're doing the right thing is your guaranteed reward. But I used to tell people this when I was a chaplain and they were having a hard time understanding the love of God. And I used to just tell people, like, there's more to it than the direct reaction of being a good person and doing the right thing. Like, the way you affect people in ways that you don't understand. Not what can you do good for others, and you can see the benefits they're receiving from you helping them or doing whatever. But the things you don't see are the rewards that are really beneficial, I feel. If you're a good person and you're out in the world and you're doing good things, people who see you doing these good things that you didn't know witnessed you, you're leaving an impression on them. Now they may go out into the world and do good things as well because of the way you impression them. You didn't even know they witnessed you being a good person. That person out in the world may come across you again, especially when you're in a time of need, and help you out. Be there for you because of something that happened in the past. It's a ripple effect. From your good choices, your good behavior has a ripple effect, almost like audio waves that will reach people that you didn't even know was in witnessing range. And those benefits will come back to you, whether you live in a better world because of it, because of the ripple effect of your existence, just makes your community a better place. Or maybe someone keeps you in mind when they have a little extra, or you're in a position of need. And they see you and they go, every time I see you, you're a good person. I see you making good choices even though you don't know I exist. I see you existing in the world doing better. And now that you're in need, or I'm able to help you, or however it needs to be, now you will receive benefit just from being a good person. There is no downside to being a good person. And I know a lot of people go, yeah, but what about being walked on by bad people? Well, that just makes you smarter. That doesn't, like, I know it feels like you're an idiot for being a good person and letting a bad person work you over, but now you're smarter. It doesn't mean time to be a bad person. Just keep being a good person. But don't forget. I met a lot of chaplains like that who were like, you know, it's okay to help people who need help, but if people are burning you, you don't have to keep helping them. Like, you can know that they're going to burn you and just be nice to them and no longer help them. You don't have to help them. Like, you know, it talks in the Bible about, you know, love your fellow man and all that. You can love somebody, but you don't have to let them hurt you. You don't have to allow that to happen just because you're a good person. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. Let's see. Annette, you don't know when you're entertaining an angel. Absolutely. Let's see. Let's read through. What's up, Podcast Gel? Happy freedom. Appeal to heaven, 48 years old here, never had the ripple effect, just bad luck. You may not always see the ways you're benefiting the world. I feel like being a good person and making the world a better place isn't always, the reward isn't always something you're going to see. It's not for you to see. Like, you're not going to experience all the benefits, but they're there. The way you're impacting the world in a positive way may not always be on a scale that you can write it down, that you can notice it, because it may not be for you to notice. Your contributions are not unheard. You just may not be able to track them. You may not be able to spot them, you know, because of the blur of perception, right? You can look at the glass half empty or half full. That's based on perception. And so your perception may not write down all the details of what you're seeing, but it doesn't change the fact of the glass being half empty or half full. It's still happening, whether you can document it or not. And I fully understand what you're saying. I feel like I have no luck but bad luck. But there's a lot of times, how many times have you seen a hooligan show up and say, I've been here before when there was riots, and then they came back. And it could be the vibes in the chat, the things they've learned by being here, my impression on them, you never know. But they came back, and that's an effect that we have, that we all have. We're never really out here just making choices. We are all out here reacting while making choices. We're constantly in a vibrating state. We are constantly being affected by the world around us, whether it's me and you affecting each other, or it could be just the conditions of the room we're in. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too noisy. We are constantly reacting to everything around us, but the choices we make during that reaction is how we affect the world around us. And even though we may not be able to document the reaction, it's still happening. And so if you could say you were blind, you couldn't see how you were benefiting the people around you, would you still want to do it? Would you still want to be a good person if you couldn't see what was happening? Is it still worthwhile is what I'm really asking. Is it worth being a good person and affecting this world in that way, even if you can't see the benefits of it? If they never come all the way back to you, is it still worthwhile? I think so. I firmly believe so, which is why I think integrity is important. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's telling you to. Even if there is no consequence for doing the wrong thing, it is still worthwhile to do the good thing, even if you're not getting anything directly in return. To have integrity has much value, I believe. I firmly believe this. But anyways, we better move forward because I'll just sit here and talk you guys to death. Feeling philosophical right now, I guess. And I might have to close the slider because apparently we're having a rainstorm right now. You guys getting a little bit of ASMR and some philosophical readings here. Anyways, we're moving forward. This next video is titled Fire Marshal Jamal Bowman Faces Charges. Like I said, when they were scrambling to figure out how to prevent the government shutdown, this clown decided to go in the next room and pull a fire alarm on accident because he couldn't figure out how to operate a door. At least they're trying. I don't think anything too significant is going to happen to him, especially because they mentioned his plea deal, and I assume he'll be sentenced his plea deal, which is near nothing. But either way, this is a follow-up video. Let's get it started.
Remember Jamal Bowman, the squad congressman who pulled the fire alarm during a vote on a spending bill? Well, Jamal's in trouble. National correspondent Bill Malugion's here with more. Bill.
I'm going to close the slider. I'll be right back.
Remember, Jamal Bowman initially said he pulled the fire alarm on accident while rushing to vote. But local police in D.C., they're not buying it. He has now been charged with falsely pulling that alarm on purpose. Capitol Police released this picture of Bowman pulling the fire alarm in the Cannon office building back on September 30th. Remember, this was as Republicans were trying to start a vote on a spending measure that would keep the government open. At the time, Bowman's spokesperson tried downplaying it, saying Bowman, quote, did not realize he would trigger a building alarm as he was rushing to make an urgent vote. And they said the congressman regrets any confusion he made by pulling that alarm with the obvious signs there. But Capitol Police say this was no accident. D.C. Superior Court records now show Bowman has been charged with false alarm of fire. Specifically, Bowman, quote, did willfully and knowingly give a false alarm of fire. According to those court records, the charge is a misdemeanor, which carries a maximum of 6 months in jail. Our Fox News team caught up with Bowman at the Capitol today. He says he's already worked out a plea deal.
Can you just explain what that plea agreement is for our viewers?
Well, the statement says it. I mean, pretty much I have to pay a $1,000 fine in 3 months. As long as I stay out of trouble, the case will be dismissed.
And Jesse, Bowman has to surrender himself to D.C. police tomorrow morning for fingerprinting, booking, and arraignment. It's also important to point out that these charges are in D.C. local court, not federal court. That's where the January 6th defendants are being prosecuted, federal court. No word yet, though, on if Bowman is going to face any federal charges for pulling the alarm and interrupting these government proceedings. We'll send it back to you.
Oh, local court, we might get a mugshot. We'll try to FOIA that tomorrow. Thank you so much, Bill.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Well, they're actually holding him accountable. I mean, it doesn't sound like anything significant. If it was me or you, we'd be doing the full 6 months or whatever they said. But any kind of accountability is good at this point, because we've gone through a couple years now where we're watching people just tear everything down and there's no consequence to it. And we've been saying there's no accountability for the wicked, but we need it. And so at least they're doing something to him. Yeah, he's going to do some probation and whatever else he said. Pay some money. Pay $1,000 or $5,000. I can't remember what he said. Closing the damn sliders because it's raining so hard. Any kind of accountability is better than nothing. But the whole ploy to say, I didn't know how to open a door, so I pulled the fire alarm thinking that was going to assist me. I didn't know that was a fire alarm, but I've been a principal for multiple years at schools, or a school. Why lie about it? Why lie about it? It's just, you got caught for it anyways. So not only did you pull a fire alarm to stop a meeting at government, but then you lied about it. And then you still got caught. So you're a bastard. That's where we are, I guess. That's where we're working. This guy's a bastard. And so I feel like there should be some other consequences, because we don't need liars to work for the government. I feel like that should be a huge penalty. You get caught lying and you work for the government, you don't work for the government anymore. We should have something there along those lines. Because explain to me how we need liars in government. That just doesn't, I don't know. You're a public servant and a liar. That doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. I'm going to read through the chat really quick. I'm going to move forward. Cassandra, our system is so biased. The worst part is how they're in your face about it. Yeah. Yep. That's what I hate about the press briefings. KJP go up there wagging her fingers all in the screen and stuff. lying, just saying stuff that's just absolutely not true. It's not how we all think or how we all feel, but she's just speaking on our behalf. She goes, well, the American people want this. Who the fuck told you that, KJP? I've never seen a poll. I've never been stopped on my way to Walmart or whatever. Hey, you want to fill out the poll and tell KJP how you really feel? I wish. I wish they had that kind of stuff. You know, like the people who are ringing the bells outside of Walmart and Walgreens and stuff. That's where the people who are doing those polls should be. Because I'd love to tell them how much I care about certain things and don't care about other things. And I'd love to tell KJP exactly how I feel about all of it. I don't know. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. Dan, we need to hold them all accountable for their actions. Absolutely. Absolutely. If it was me or you, they can't wait. They will fall over each other to hold us accountable for every little thing. Every little thing. Paying the IRS, how you behave in public, the things you say, using your vocal cords that will come and hold consequence against you. It's stupid. But they get to go up there and lie and bang kids and do all this other stuff, and it's like, no accountability. We need to just sit here and watch it like a reality TV show. It's messed up. Let's read through really quick before we cover this next one. This next one is just giving us a little information about Speaker Johnson, who apparently was brought in yesterday. I think we were live. Yeah, we were live doing this. We were doing Coffee with Hooligans when he was elected Speaker. DeRosa, the book of punches to the face. Exactly. I can't wait to show you guys the new punches in the face t-shirt that I made. And it's all red, white, and blue. I love it so much. I haven't decided when I'm going to release it yet, because in March, I'm able to start campaigning if I want to. Not that, I'll probably get any traction, because 2024 is all about the Orange Eagle. I'm really hoping on 2028, though. But either way, we're going to have some campaign shirts coming out, and I'm really excited about it. Let's see. Cash flow. This is an attempt to try and grab guns. They can try, but it's not going to end. It's not going to end well. Yep, I agree. People might have gotten complacent, and we are littered with soft and stupid people. But I think if they try to come do that, people will stand up. I don't know about anything else, but I know if they try to come for the guns, there's a lot of people willing to die on that hill. And I mean, it should be everyone, but I think it's a lot more than we're keeping in mind. Let's see. Let's read through. Yeah, I appreciate you, Hydrodynamic. Toy Mafia, I ain't trying to get you robbed. I ain't trying to get you robbed. Just because you're out there being a good person doesn't mean you have to be a nice person. There's a difference between being a good person and a nice person. A lot of it is how you are treated in the end. Hydrodynamic, absolute power equals absolute corruption. It does. I think it's too hard to have that much power at your fingertips and not be corrupted by it. I don't have an answer, though. I mean, as much as I would like to make a foolproof program and stick that in the government, and that way it would be absolute, they would make sure we're all treated equally and fairly, somebody with access to the program would corrupt it. It's like there's no foolproof way. Let's see. What's up, Sam? Yeah, you've missed a considerable amount. I just had 2 TED Talks for no reason, just spilling my brains out on the chat just a few minutes ago, just before that last video there. If you want to go back and hear me pour my heart out for about 20 minutes before that last video. Otherwise, you haven't missed much. Just reading through. Mr. B New should have a shirt with a screaming goat on the top and a blue Subaru. Have him screaming out the Subaru window. I made a Subies and Boobies t-shirt. I'm telling you, I have like 30 designs ready to go. I haven't dropped yet. We'll see. I'm still working on the Subies and Boobies. I don't think there's a whole hell of a lot of hooligans driving Subies, so I'm still debating if I'm just going to make myself that shirt or if it's actually going to make it to the merch store. I have a couple shirts that are so spicy, they're not going to make it on the merch store, and they will have to be on the second merch store where the hats, flags, and patches are, because these things are too spicy. They're too spicy for that first merch store. And I can't risk it. I threw that Kyle Rittenhouse shirt up there back when the stuff happened. Back when he was in the street, gun hot. Way before the trial happened. It was like the day after he had done what he did, killing communism in the streets. And I got the shirt taken down. I think we sold 5 of them, and then all of a sudden the merch store took it down. They said it was inappropriate, and if I post anything like that again, they'll just ban me. I won't be able to have a merch store through their company ever again. And so I'm not going to risk it because it is convenient to do things through them. But these spicy shirts, they'll be where the hats, flags, and patches are. And you guys should check that stuff out because all that stuff is embroidered, and it's pretty badass. The hats and the beanies are badass. I've seen both. I haven't seen the patches yet. I assume they're good quality also. But the beanies and the hats, awesome. 100% awesome. They're excellent. Cassandra, they were good TED Talks. Well, I appreciate you sticking with us. My friends hate it. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of friends, but when I get around them, they can't stand it. I'm always trying to be their dad. I don't know if it's because we all grew up without, like, dads in our life or what, but I'm always like, they can't have a conversation with me without me trying to add my 2 cents onto it, trying to give them advice. It's not that, one, I am a know-it-all. I'm very well aware. I realized it when I argued with other people that I thought was a know-it-all. That's how I realized I'm a know-it-all. But the reason I do it to my friends and stuff is not because I'm a know-it-all and I want to tell them what I have to say and think. It's because I care. The reason I do all of this talking is because I care. I'm very wordy. I'm very overly explained. I am aware. I know. But I tell you because I care. And my friends can't stand that I care so goddamn much. They hate it. They hate it. My bad dropping the GD. It's language. My bad. But yeah, they hate it. They're like, I know. I'm like, no, but you need to hear this. They're like, I know. Don't tell me. I know. It's because I care so much. It happens. Sam, we need more Kyle. We do. We need a little extra Kyle around here. Straighten things out. If we were blue team, we'd be calling out Kyle right now. Why'd you let those kids steal that car and run down that sheriff and kill him in the streets? Kyle, you should have shot him with the AR and solve those problems. But we're not blue team. We're not going to get out there and start calling people out for things that they had no business being a part of. That's how blue team gets down. They're like, what do you mean there's a war in the Middle East? Damn it, Trump! What did you do now? You blew it, Trump. It's your fault. Yep, exactly. What's up, Rappy? Happy freedom. What's up, Jeff Rowe? Appreciate you being here. Flipping through. Lead guitarman. Donating to people defending themselves can now get you in trouble. Yeah. And that really reminds me of the convoy when Canada started the convoy, the Freedom Convoy, and people were donating to the truckers, and then the truckers were getting their accounts frozen, and then the banks were like backtracking where the money was coming from, and they were trying to freeze accounts from people who were donating to the truckers. And that was a whole nightmare going on. And that's what, like, I feel like that's a superpower that they don't want us to know they have. They do it to celebrities. It's called debanking. If they don't like what you're doing, we've all experienced being deplatformed, where you say something they don't like and they suspend your account or ban your account. That's deplatforming. But if you can still get your voice out there, like us, because we have our own website that they cannot silence. If the elite who control all this crap, social media and all that, and who decide who needs to be mass banned, or who, like Andrew Tate and people like that, like Trump, right? He was banned from everything. When that stuff happens and you still get your voice out and people are still hearing you, they'll reach out to the banks. They'll have you debanked. And that sucks, because when that happens, they can mass ban you from the banks, just like social media. They can all network with each other and put a mass ban out on you to where you can't hold an account anymore with any bank, And they'll keep the money that you have, because when you open a bank account and you give them the money, you're giving them rule over your dollar. They can just keep that money. They'll say that you broke policy with their account and they had to close the account on you, and there's nothing you can do to get that money back. So you'll lose every dollar you have, and you won't be able to open another bank account. So then how do you make purchases online? How do you pay for services like running this live stream and stuff like that? You can't. That's how they get you. But I think they don't want people to know that they could just press a button and have you debanked. So they only do it to celebrities right now. But we'll see. We'll see. The more the American people get mouthy about how we don't like the government and the way that they're treating us and the way they're treating President Trump and the way that they're sending our money across the ocean and the way that they have our border just full on invasion mode, we'll see. They might just start debanking us peons, us peasants down here on the lower level. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. Hydrodynamic, any planned protests? Not that I've heard. I know they're all in the streets crying about the Middle East or whatever. And even those protests, I haven't really caught a lot of them live. But outside of that, I haven't seen anything yet. And I had a t-shirt that said Jugs. What? Oh, it was a motorcycle heads part, and it had a pair of boobs on it. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm trying to think what I have on mine. Mine doesn't have a set of tits on it. My Subies and Boobies. It says Subies and Boobies, and then it's got a image, an illustration of a can of oil, because Subarus burn oil, and then a heart that's got like nipples on the top of it. And so that, I don't want to make anything too graphic. We'll see. I'll show you guys the Subies and Boobies stuff. Maybe I'll post a screenshot and gild it in on the website so you guys can get a sneak peek. Let's see. It's reading through. Two Storm, yeah. Well, more or less. I only got a few friends. The more friends you have, the more of your friends' problems that you're enduring. And I really hate to say it that way, but growing up, I always had friends that went to jail and made bad choices and stuff like that. And they'd be like, hey, can I come over? And I'm like, yeah, come hang out. I ain't doing nothing. They're like, all right. And they hang out, and then all of a sudden a cop knocks on the door, and you're like, hey. And they're like, is so-and-so here? And you're like, why? I'm like, well, they just drove their car down the street, and they hit 4 parked cars and ran over 2 cats. But we see their cars parked out front of your house, and we would like to speak to them. And you're like, okay, hold on a second. And then you turn around, you're like, dude, why'd you hit all those damn cars, and why'd you come to my house? They're like, what are you talking about? We're boys. And now you're like an accessory to all of this. And it's like, oh, man. After you do that for 20 years, you don't want to do it anymore. They're like, why don't you make friends? I'm like, because I only have time for so many other people's problems. And their choices, the consequences of their choices. So, you gotta pick your battles, and because of that, I don't have a whole lot of friends in real life. That's all right. I have all of you hooligans, and that's enough for me. Bobby, poor cats. I know. Well, they got 9 lives, so they'll be straight. They're all right. Thank you so much, Jeffro, for the $10 donation on Rumble. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support, Jeffro. Jeffro says, here's a few to help with phone troubles, brother. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you. That's awesome. Let's see. Easy pass. I know, you could tell that story's fake. You know how hard it would be to run over 2 cats? Cats are elusive. You're not running over cats. I know, we all seen Pet Cemetery, I know. You ain't got to type it out. I know what you're going to say. Cat's got 9 lives. You got to run them over a few times. They'll be all right. Can't kill her. Why'd you park out front, dumbass? I know. I really had conversations like that with my friends, and it's like, after a while, especially when you own things, you work really hard, you find a place to live, you get a car, you got nice things, you got food in your fridge. The last thing you want is your felony friend to come over right after committing crimes and be like, hey, can I sleep on your couch for a week? You want to say, yeah, that's your friend. But you don't want to be an accessory to criminal activities, so then what do? You say no. Well, then you say no, and then they act like you're the asshole. And after being the asshole so many times, you're like, nah, you can't sleep on my couch. It's too bad. Shouldn't have been out there doing dumb stuff. A lot of my friends that were out there doing dumb stuff are dead right now. I've been losing friends since I was like 12 years old. just to bad decisions. So, I don't know. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Well, hooligans, we're going to be moving forward here. We still got four videos left. That's a long one today. This next one's titled Mike Johnson, a staunch conservative from Louisiana, is selected House Speaker with broad GOP support. I like this video. They give a good summary of who he is, because I know who he was prior to watching it, other than what you hooligans have informed me about. But then at the very end, they call him a ultra MAGA. I mean, they don't straight call him a white supreme pizza, but you know, it's implied. Let's go ahead and get this started.
Now to Washington, where a new Speaker of the House is seated this evening. Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson received unanimous support from Republicans. Johnson takes the gavel with the support of former President Donald Trump. Skylar Henry is on Capitol Hill with more.
Therefore, the Honorable Mike Johnson of the state of Louisiana, having received a majority of the votes cast, is duly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson accomplished something 3 other nominees before him were unable to do: unite House Republicans and claim the gavel as Speaker of the House.
We are ready to get to work again to solve those problems, and we will.
Johnson was able to assume the chair that places him 3rd in line of succession to the presidency. He held on to his conservative principles while still winning over the moderates.
We have to sacrifice sometimes our preferences because that's what's necessary in a legislative body. But we will defend our core principles to the end.
Johnson's record shows he voted against certifying the 2020 presidential election, voted against legalizing same-sex marriage, and in May, he voted against a Ukraine aid package.
Johnson's vote against Ukraine aid could be put to the test almost immediately, as President Biden is asking Congress for more than $100 billion to fund the war in Ukraine, provide military aid to both Israel and Taiwan, and strengthen the U.S. southern border.
There's divided support in the Republican conference. I don't think we ought to bring a Ukraine bill that doesn't have majority Republican support.
Congress also has about 3 weeks to pass a new spending bill to keep the government open. Several House conservatives are opposed to any short-term deal unless it includes deep spending cuts.
We are honored to have seen Speaker Johnson put out his plan for government funding, and the words continuing resolution are not a part of that plan.
As Speaker, Johnson will have a large say over how the spending bills get passed. No bill can come to the floor without the new Speaker's approval.
And we did reach out to both Republican and Democrats representing our communities in Washington. We heard back from Democratic Congresswoman Kathy Castor, who represents Tampa. She expressed concerns, calling Johnson one of the MAGA's most extreme members.
One of MAGA's most extreme members. My goodness. I've never seen him at a Trump rally, and we cover all of those, but, you know, whatever. It's extreme. Oh, he's so extreme. So extreme that they actually all agreed to make him Speaker of the House. Okay. Whatever you say. They say all that good stuff, and then they're like, he's ultra MAGA extreme. Well, cry hard for us. We like that. We like that around here. I'm going to read through the chat really quick before moving forward. This next one's about Trump being fined $10,000 for breaking the gag order, according to that goofy judge that they got. Sam, I lived in Memphis with a few friends who had friends that would do shit just like that. Like, whose stolen car is parked out front of the house? Yeah, it's... I don't know. It's tough having stupid friends. I tell you, it's not good. When you get old, you don't want to put up with it. There's still good people in the world. There's nothing wrong with making friends, but those people you used to hang out with in high school, they're not always with carrying you out into adulthood. It's not worth keeping that connection open, unfortunately. We all got to walk our own walk, and when God calls your number, you got to go. There's nothing you can do about it, and nobody's going with you. My grandpa used to tell me that every day for like the last 5 years he was alive. When God calls your number, you're the one that has to go. And so you should make your decisions based off that. It's fine to love people, but don't cut yourself down just for other people. Don't let them do that to you. Like I said, there's a difference between being a good person and being a nice person. Let's see. Cassandra, that money would really help people here. Yeah, I think that's how everyone feels when we hear about those checks being cut for overseas. Like we don't need that money? Well, then why do we have so many Hold on a second. Something's going on here. I'll be right back. Just a moment. My apologies, hooligans. I guess the mailman did not bring his key today. He needed to get in the building. Our building is that secure. Federal workers can't even make it inside. My apologies. Let's read through really quick, and then we're going to move on to this next one. This next one's titled, Trump's fined 10,000 doll hairs for a second gag order violation. Let's read through really quick. SEPA impeach Walter and Hyena Harris, and Johnson would be president. Well, I haven't made decisions like that yet. I don't know if he's good enough to be president, but if he is ultra MAGA, wouldn't that be something? If he led, I'm out of breath running all the way downstairs. If he ran the House, and they actually did impeach Old Man Walter and Hyena Harris, would he just run till the end of the term? Would it just be until 2024 and then put the Orange Eagle in? Is that how it would work? Bobby, nah. I'm waiting for that to happen, and I really hope it never does. No, they're not going to ring my buzzer if they're going to swat me. They're going to kick that door open. I'll probably die right here on the screen. I tell you guys, I am documented as a violent offender. If they think something bad is happening here, they're not going to be asking questions. Not at all. So I hope to God no one ever does that to me. Because they're just going to come in guns a-blazing. That's all that's going to happen. They're not going to be asking questions. They're not going to be all courteous and cautious. No, they're going to kick that door in. It's going to be a big flash, and I'm not going to be here anymore. You hear Cat Daniels crying in the background? It's going to be a tragedy. Hopefully it never happens. Hey, I appreciate you, Patriot Polywog. Thanks for being here. Can't kill it's magic. That's how Blue Team speaks all day. Everything just happens from magic. Lead guitar man. So it would be. He'd be just filling the spot until 2024. Well, can't be worse than Old Man Walter. I think we should go ahead and give that a try. Hydrodynamic, not on the live, please. Well, I mean, that's usually how it happens if you get swatted. What's up, status quo? Happy freedom. Hydrodynamic, it's feds, run. Show me a warrant. Yeah, I'm not answering the door if they don't have a warrant. I won't even respond. Like, not at all. What's up, Cosmic Squirrel? Happy freedom. It's been a minute. And if God calls your number, you can't escape that draft. That's true. That is true. I keep hearing about people talking about the government trying to reinstate the draft. I hope to God that doesn't happen. I do not want to go fight for Old Man Walter's nonsense. Like, not even kind of sort of a little bit. And I will have to go. And I don't like thinking about that. I'd rather hit another deer. Go do all that. Let's see. Alright, hooligans, we're going to run this next video. It's titled, Trump fined $10,000 for second gag order violation. Let's get it started.
Judge is a very partisan judge. With a person who's very partisan sitting alongside of him, perhaps even much more partisan than he is.
It was that comment that cost former President Donald Trump $10,000 more at his civil fraud trial on Wednesday, after the judge said it violated a gag order in the case for a second time. Trump was fined $5,000 last week for not taking down a post that disparaged a law clerk after Justice Arthur Engoron barred him from making comments attacking court staff. Engoron, surmising that Trump's comments outside the court referred to his clerk, called it a blatant violation of the gag order and imposed the fine after Trump briefly took the witness stand. One of Trump's lawyers said the partisan person Trump had been referring to was not the law clerk, but Michael Cohen, the former president's one-time lawyer and fixer who is testifying against him in the trial. But the judge did not buy that argument and declined to reconsider the fine.
Attack, attack, attack. That's the Trump way.
Earlier, Michael Cohen underwent cross-examination during his second straight day of testimony in the case, in which Trump's family business is accused of unlawfully manipulating its financials to dupe lenders and insurers. Cohen, who hosts a political podcast and has written 2 books since cutting ties with Trump, acknowledged under questioning that he has a financial incentive to criticize his ex-boss, but defended his credibility. His testimony that Trump inflated the value of real estate assets could bolster the case against the former president, but Cohen's admitted record of deceit after having been convicted of tax fraud and perjury in 2018 could undermine his credibility before the judge, who alone will decide the outcome of the trial.
Went to jail for lying, and this is their only witness.
Trump has denied wrongdoing in the case and defended the valuations of his properties. He separately has pleaded not guilty in 4 criminal cases this year.
It's interesting because we covered a video, I think last week, that was talking about that post that he made that they were saying is a violation of his gag order. But when we covered that video, they said that he made a post on Truth Social and the judge issued the gag order and said that he can't make that post. So he went and deleted it. But the problem is that the post was already reposted by the Trump campaign, which is not ran by him. It's ran by, people he hired and whatnot, campaign people. And so he deleted the post, but then he couldn't delete the post for the campaign thing or whatever because it's out of his reach. I mean, I'm sure he could have called and had it taken down, but the gag order is on him, not anything else. And so he took it down, but the campaign post didn't. And so they're penalizing him for that, on top of whatever he had mentioned during the recess that they showed. And they were like, oh, that's why he got hit with the $10,000 fine. Well, they're painting it up like he's broke the gag order twice when originally he didn't. I mean, well, I guess he did, but they told him to take it down and he did. But they're not recognizing it because of what his campaign is doing. This judge should not be running this whole thing. Obviously, he doesn't understand how presidency works, how campaigning works, how access to social media works, if they're going to be punishing him for something that other people are doing, because that's what happened. And so now they're going to hit him with $10,000 fines every time he opens his face and says anything related to court. But like I said at the beginning of the live, he's got the money to back it up. So what I think is going to end up happening is he's going to purposely break the gag order to say what he wants to say, and he'll just throw the doll hairs at him and still get out what he wants to say. I could totally see Trump doing that. Now, I don't recommend to continue pushing the judge's buttons, but obviously Trump's not taking advice from me. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. I know there are a bunch of bastards for doing that, charging him money for talking, for using his voice. It's so messed up. Let's see. And that might be why all the border crossers are fighting age are being let in. They might use them for the draft. No. They'll be the new Americans. I'll have to go to the draft. Those people aren't even documented. Like, they don't even have social security numbers and stuff. How are they even going to draft them? They're not even registered for the draft. But all of us have to go. All men who are younger than 45 or 46, I guess, younger than 46, we will be drafted unless you meet those special qualifications. And I don't. My younger brother has my last name. I don't have flat feet. My back's not broken, and my criminal record's not too bad to be drafted. So I'd have to go. And then somebody who crossed that border illegally will just come live in my place, not pay taxes, and God only knows what they'll do. Let's read through really quick before we move forward. This next one's talking about the people striking at Ford and how Ford just came to the table and made a deal. I can't remember if it's for the big, like for everything, or if it's just Ford that made the deal. I just know the title talks about Ford. Christy Starr, I hope Trump gets president. I do too. I think he will. Either he will or something's off. That's how I feel. And I mean, maybe I shouldn't be that way, but I see overwhelming support for the Orange Eagle. I don't see anybody supporting any blue team anywhere. I see people in the hood posting videos every single day. People who live in the projects, people who live in the ghettos, who are all for Trump. Especially after Trump got a mugshot. Trump was arrested. He went to jail. He got a mugshot. He's being accused of things that he is saying he didn't do. Just like everyone in the ghetto. Just like everyone in the ghetto. Now those kind of people can relate to Trump. They're like, yeah, when I went in, I didn't do it either. I didn't do it either. They said I did it and they made me do the time, and now they're doing it to Trump. You know what? I like Trump. He's going through things I've gone through. And now you got people relating in different kinds of ways. There is no one supporting old man Walter unless they just really are unaware of the world around them. And they're just wealthy and well off to where they just don't care about what's going on in politics, and they just repeat what they hear on CNN. Anybody who's actually living and functioning in the world, in America, is backing the Orange Eagle, or they're backing one of the random people who aren't going to win, like, you know, DeSantis and all those people and stuff. It's Orange Eagle all day. If the Orange Eagle doesn't win, it's corruption. That's all I can say. It's got to be corruption. That's the only way he ain't winning. Let's see. Grey Wolf. They're getting money off. Yeah, the border crossers are getting money off of us, but we don't have their social security numbers and stuff like that. They get an EBT card. When they come across, they get an iPhone and an EBT card, and that card number is being documented. But they just stick whatever name that the border crosser gave them on the card. But the card number is being documented. Everything else is just questionable data. And so if it was time for the draft, the best they could do is call the number for the EBT card and hope that, you know, whatever his name is answers the phone and is ready to go fight for America. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. Those people are not documented like that. They're documented enough to where they can receive $2,200 on their plastic card every month. That's really it. They're not registered for the draft. All men, as soon as you hit 18, you have like a certain period of time to register for the draft, or you'll be arrested. And they don't even tell you. I remember turning 18 and people being like, you registered for the draft? And I'm like, well, no, they didn't tell me. They were like, wait for that time limit to expire. They'll come tell you real quick. And so I went to the library, because back then our cell phones didn't connect to the internet. And I had to sit there at the library and access a computer to register for the draft, and then print out my form saying that I am registered and all this crap. And so, yeah, people coming across the border, they're not going. They're not going. I'll have to go. People like me will have to go. And those border crossers will just take our place. They're just our replacements. Let's see. And that they could be striking a deal that would, if they serve, they'll get citizenship. I mean, it could be, but the draft is not about making deals. The draft happens because people aren't volunteering, because they don't have enough bodies to take orders. And so now they have to force people to do it. Those people weren't even forced to do anything to come across the border, let alone be forced to go fight war. I mean, it makes sense. Make them go fight. If they make it back home alive, okay, you get to stay. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying I'm registered and they're not. And when it comes time to send bodies overseas to die for old man Walter's reasons, I'm going to have to go. And whoever came across that border, they're not even going to know anything. Well, we're going to move forward to this next one. It's titled, Ford Strikes a Deal to End the Auto Strike. This is just follow-up to all this stuff going on with the strikers. I can't remember what they're called. Oh, the UAW. That's what it is. Yes, these guys. I think they're just talking about Ford specifically. I don't know that the other, what they call the big three, I don't know that they've actually done deals yet. We'll see.
Ford has struck a tentative deal with the United Auto Workers Union to end strikes at its factories. The agreement covers a new 4.5-year contract, with wages to rise 25% over that time. Including cost of living adjustments and other factors, total pay will actually rise by 1/3 over the period of the contract. The lowest paid temporary workers will get raises of more than 150%. UAW boss Sean Fain confirmed the news in a statement on Facebook.
We told Ford to pony up, and they did. We won things nobody thought was possible. Since the strike began, Ford put 50% more on the table than when we walked out. This agreement sets us on a new path to make things right at Ford, at the Big Three, and across the auto industry.
The deal could end a 6-week stoppage at the company's factories, but first has to be ratified by union members. However, the UAW has said striking workers should go back to work even before a vote takes place. Ford confirmed the news, saying it was pleased to have reached agreement. Now the focus turns to General Motors and Chrysler parent Stellantis, which also face strikes. In statements, both said they were working to reach deals as soon as possible. Analysts bet the Ford settlement will now set a template, with existing offers from GM and Stellantis not that far removed. Automakers are desperate to end the strike, which some estimates say has already cost the industry $9.3 billion.
Well, so I guess it is just Ford. They're expecting that the other automotive companies will fall in line and kind of follow suit there. We'll see, as long as everybody's happy, I guess. It's hard to say. There's a lot of weird stuff that was happening early on with that, where the strikers were expanding the strike instead of going to the table to make the deal. They went on the strike. The companies were like, all right, let's discuss what you want and all this stuff, and we'll make a deal. And instead, the strikers were like, no, we're going to make more strikers. And so they just inflated their strike. And then the automotive companies were like, well, it's hard to make a deal if you don't come to the table. And then we didn't hear anything about it. Now this happened, so I don't know. I question everything at this point. Question everything. I write it down, but then I write all the questions I have about it too. I try not to let go of any of that stuff. Things just, I don't know. It's hard to trust anything at this point. Easy pass. Don't forget to pay your union dues. Yeah. Anytime I've worked at a place that had unions, the people who were already hired in and a part of the union were never very happy. They were always like, well, you know, you actually make more than I do because I'm on the union and you're not. And by the time I get done paying all those dues, you make more than I do. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't be fired for no reason and I can. And that's about it. Other than that, I don't understand what's so special about unions. And I'm sure every state's different. Every situation is different, just like every job is different. But the jobs I've seen here that are unionized where I live, like in the immediate area, those people are not happy people. So I don't know. Let's see. Just reading through really quick. Wait a minute. Truth is the light. I'm in UAW and we can't strike ever. Is your truth is light? Our state is at will employment. So if you're not unionized, you can strike, but you're basically just telling your employer that you quit. I've been fired twice for no reason, where my termination paper just says no reason on across it. Of course, that's never the reason. There's always an actual reason. They just don't want to write it on paper, because if they do list an actual reason and it doesn't comply with federal laws or policy or whatever, then they could actually be sued for wrongful termination, even in a at-will employment state. So it's easier for them to say no reason than to actually list a reason where you could come back to bite them. Let's see, reading through. Hair juicer, it's so complicated. I've been UAW 13 years and it still confuses me. And I think it's done that way on purpose. I think all that stuff is done that way on purpose. So we can't use it to benefit ourselves. Like most things in life, right? They don't tell you how taxes work. So most people, just based off that reason right there, the majority of Americans don't start their own job. They're too scared of what's going to happen about taxes because they don't even understand it. Nobody even knew how to do taxes until they got their first check being an employee. And once you get that, that's overwhelming to begin with. And you get through it and the IRS doesn't come knock on your door and you get a little bit of tax money back. You get your refund. And you're like, whew, that was difficult. I'm glad I only got to do that once a year. And then people are like, why don't you start your own job? And you're like, I don't even like doing taxes as an employee, let alone an employer. And that fear prevents people from even doing that. Like just coming up to that next step of being self-employed. It's fear that prevents us from doing it, from lack of education, even though we go through all that damn schooling. What's the point of that? You go through 13 years of school, unless you're like me and you got to do a couple years over again, just to get out and still not know how to pay taxes. And that's your whole reason for existing to the American government. You have no purpose here if you're not paying taxes prior to the open border. And they don't even teach you how to do it. So they can incarcerate you. Because what they like more than tax money is prisoners. People being in jail. They make money off of it because they're a bunch of bastards. I don't know. It's no good. Just reading through really quick, and we're going to move forward to this last video, which is about the mass shooting that happened in Maine. Annette, you lost power? I hope I don't lose power. I hate it. I hate when I lose power. Because it always happens while I'm live. It never happens like on my off time where I could just sit here in the dark and yell at my cat. No, it's always while I'm live. And then I feel like I let you guys down. And I can't even restart the live because then I sit here in the dark. There's no power. And I'm like, why? Why'd you do that? You severed the connection between me and my hooligans. Crackshot illegals don't pay taxes. Yeah. That's why I've been saying like pretty much the last couple months that I don't think they care about money anymore. I don't know what's changed, but it doesn't seem like the government cares that much about us paying them money anymore. Otherwise, they wouldn't let all these freeloaders in across the open and invisible line down south. They wouldn't let them come in if it was still about tax dollars. They wouldn't send it all to the blue and yellow country if it was about tax dollars. They would keep it. And they would register all the border crossers, so they would pay taxes too, and they would have all this money. They must have some workaround at this point, probably just printing doll hairs, because it doesn't seem to be about the money anymore. It's about control now. That's why the mandates are the way they are. That's why they're coming after the kids the way they are. That's why Minnesota and California is a travel warning designations at this time. Just visiting. If your kids want to turn their wiener inside out, you can't even stop them. And if you try, you'll lose parental rights, even if you're just visiting. The government does not care about money at this point. They must have enough. They must have their own access to it without us. So now the goal is to control us. And what I've been trying to figure out is how are they going to do that? How are they going to control us? Because people are mad, madder than they've been in a long time. And you can't tell mad people what to do. It never works out. So what is it? How will they control us? And I thought it would come in the form of the plague. And for the greater good, they would have to lock us down. And they would control us that way. But of course, we're going to have people who don't comply. People who are just not going to take it because the government says so. Now the draft is on the horizon. Okay, so they send all the fighting abled men in America overseas. So then all of our women and children are here. And you know who you're stuck with? People who came across that border that are undocumented. All the vulnerable people in our life will be stuck here with border crossers. Who's going to stand up to the government when they come to take your rights? All the fighting-bodied men just went overseas. You think those border crossers are going to stand up for our rights? Because they don't even have our rights. They're not even here on paper. They're not even here. So they don't have rights. So who's going to stand up? The women and kids? I'm sure they'll try. But we know how that goes. The control may come in that form. Those border crossers, they don't have a leg in the fight. Like, not even all. Like, not even kind of, sort of. The government comes to crack down and do things to us. Those border crossers, they're either going to go back across the border, or they're just going to sit here and take it because they don't even have a choice. They don't even have rights to defend here. It's going to be a full-blown shit show. And it's making me wonder about this whole draft thing, because that'd be the easiest path to control, to absolute control. Send everyone that would fight against you across the sea, and then everybody who's vulnerable, leave them here to be controlled. Who's going to stop that? How would you stop that? Imagine landing overseas and then hearing about what's happening back home. How do you even get back home? You can't. You can't. And if you leave, then you're a deserter. And then look at how we look at deserters. And think about how our information is passed through the news. Americans land in a foreign country, find out that back home, the government turned tyrant. Americans are now abandoning their post overseas because they're trying to find a way to come back home. You think that's how they'll deliver the news here? No. They'll say there's traitors. There's Americans who are traitors now overseas. And the people here who are being controlled will either believe it or won't. But they won't think otherwise. They won't think, oh, those men are trying to get back home to save us. Nope, they won't think that. They'll think there's traitors because people are closed-minded and they have no grace. They won't have enough grace to say maybe those people are deserting their post to come back and save us here back at home. No, they won't think that. They'll think those people are traitors over there and we're back here being controlled by the government. We're lost causes. There is no hope. That's what will happen. People will feel hopeless before they feel that there's something else going on and have enough grace to think that hard. I don't know. I worry about that stuff. Let's see. So we're going to move on to this next video here in a second. I'm going to read through the chats, but this next one is this whole manhunt situation. Cassandra, and every year they add another layer of complicated rules. Yep. Being smart, I think, is... I almost want to say it's like the most liberating, but it's also the toughest to endure. I've realized that the more I learn about the world we live in, regardless of what it is, it could be how to use your damn phone to how the government works, but the more you know, the more miserable you seem to be, because you're aware of all the details now, where before you were blissfully ignorant. But at the same time, although you were taking on the stress of the world because of your knowledge, you also are the most free. When it's time to take advantage of situations, loopholes, laws, the way the world works, you are aware, full of in an ocean full of people who are not. And so you have the ability to take advantage of the situation and liberate yourself from these restrictions and things around you. But it comes with education. But can you endure the strain that comes with it to be free? That's the issue right there. And so when it comes to taxes and unions and all this stuff, if you don't read and you don't learn about it, and you don't thoroughly go through and learn about it, you'll never understand how it works. You'll be blissfully ignorant to the things you could or couldn't do, but you'll be happy that you were able to get through it however you can. But if you did learn it and you did learn how to use it to your advantage, you'd be more stressed because you'd be keeping track of data the whole path. But when it came time to make choices, you'd be able to make the right choices that actually benefit you. So with great power comes great responsibility, and that's one of those situations. Knowledge is power. Let's see. Reading through. Picture Polywog, make mean tweets great again. I'm saying. Trump got his account back, but he hasn't used it. He did. He posted his oh my god, I can't think of what it's called. He posted his mugshot on Twitter, I think. That's the only tweet he's done since having his account back. Alright, hooligans. We're going to move forward to this very last video. I know it's been a long one today. It wouldn't have been that long if we didn't cover that stupid press briefing. I'm really questioning whether we should even do that anymore. Anyways. This last one's titled Manhunt Underway for Person of Interest. Now, obviously, they're going to show crazy amounts of images with this guy holding a gun. And because of YouTube's communist guidelines, I am not allowed to show that. Even though it's an image, I still can't show it. I will get a strike and I will get suspended for showing guns, even though it's a picture. It's just the way it is. There's nothing I can do about it. So you're going to see the screen do this multiple times throughout the video because I can't show you the guns. It's not about that. It's about the details. Keep your ears open because the things they're saying doesn't make sense. And the more time that goes on while this guy is being tracked down, I don't know how he's so elusive, but these numbers keep changing and it doesn't make sense. This whole thing seems and feels very suspicious to me. Let's get it started, hooligans.
We want to begin with Dre Clark, who's live near that bowling alley with the very latest on the manhunt. Dre, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. A very sad day here in Lewiston, Maine. Behind me, you can see some of that police activity where the road is now blocked, but just down the way and around the curve there is where the Spare Time Recreation Center is, which is where one of those shootings happened. Police have now pushed the media way back while they conduct what will be one of the largest criminal investigations in Maine's history. Meanwhile, hundreds of police officers are now looking for Robert Card. He is that person of interest in both of the shootings that has killed at least 16 people and injured dozens more. Right now, police are not giving the exact number of people who lost their life and those who are now in the hospital being treated here. Meanwhile, police still tell.
Why would the police not give an accurate number of how many people have been killed and injured? That doesn't make any sense to me. I just want to mention that really quick.
People in the surrounding area to shelter in place, to stay indoors. Also, schools here in Lewiston and in neighboring towns will be closed today, again, as police conduct this massive manhunt. Meanwhile, police released these photos of the shooting suspect showing a bearded man carrying a rifle and wearing a brown long sleeve shirt and jeans. Police say Robert Card should be considered armed and extremely dangerous. According to a police data baseline in Maine here, Card is a trained firearms instructor at an Army Reserve training center. Police say he has recently threatened to target that training center for a shooting. Police also saying that he was recently having some mental health issues, hearing voices, and he also was committed to a mental health facility for about 2 weeks over the summer. Late last night, police did find a white Subaru here that they believe Card owned in the nearby town of Lisbon, about 8 miles from where we are this morning. According to local reports, police were going door to door, knocking on nearby homes as helicopters also searched the area from above. Police first got a report of multiple shootings happening just before 7 o'clock last night. It's unclear if the shootings began at the bowling alley, which is Spare Time Recreation Center, or that bar, which is on the other side of town from the bowling alley. These photos released, again, of that armed suspect, and police telling people, that is, to stay inside. At 8:53 Eastern Time, police announced the locations of those two shootings, and then about 30 minutes later, police released those photos, which you're seeing here, of the white SUV they are looking for. At a news conference late last night, Maine's Commissioner of Public Safety stressed how fluid the situation is, while also declining to provide specifics about how many people died or were injured. Here's more from him.
As you can imagine, and as you know, there are multiple scenes in the city, to include multiple hospitals, multiple follow-ups, a lot of witnesses we're speaking with, and a lot of leads. The general public has been very cooperative and very forthcoming with information.
And we are expecting another news conference to happen at 10:30 this morning Eastern Time. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden has been in contact with Maine's governor, as well as its congressmen and senators, offering his condolences and full support, again, as this very active manhunt plays out here all across the state of Maine. Marquis, Adrian.
All right, Dre, we appreciate you getting there for us. I know you just arrived moments ago. You've been driving all night. Thank you again.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation now.
All right. That was quite the song and dance there. My goodness. Anyways, there is so much stuff that doesn't make any kind of sense with this whole story. Last night it was 22 people killed. Now it's only 16. it was 30 people injured. Now it's just a number of people injured. Last night they said it happened at a Walmart. Now it happened at a bowling alley and a bar. I also heard the bar is not a bar, it's a restaurant. Does that mean it's like Applebee's? Or is it like a Big Boys where they don't even serve alcohol? How did he get the gun? If he went and served time in a mental facility over the summer, did he have to forfeit his firearm rights because being unfit? When he left the military, was he fit to own firearms? Because a lot of people who, when they leave the military, they're not. And they forfeit their right to arms. They're not able to. Has he owned the gun prior to the event? Did he get the gun specifically for the event? Where did he get all the ammunition from to do all of this? Where did he get the car? Why are they referring to a Subaru Outback as a SUV when it's not? It is a hatchback sedan, actually. Why did it have to be a Subaru? Why are they tearing down my stuff over there? They act like I gave him a ride. I didn't give him a ride. There's a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense about this story, especially not disclosing how many people are dead. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Where is this guy? How come they can't find him? How do we find people in the desert, but we can't find this guy? That is just... Is it going to be like that one guy that killed his girlfriend? They couldn't find him for like a week or two, and then all of a sudden they just came across the corpse and out in the middle of nowhere? They think an alligator got him or something? Is that how this is going to go? They're going to just discover a body somewhere and it will just be over. And then they'll make the details afterwards. They'll tell you how bad it was after they find the body. Is that what's going to happen? Because that's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. And see, I don't know what's causing that. I don't know why you guys are having login issues on the website. Like there shouldn't even be a thing holding you guys back. I'll have to look into it because I'm not experiencing the login issue on the website. No matter, I have 3 accounts on there and only one is an admin account, and I'm not experiencing the same thing you guys are. I will try and get it fixed. I'll have to do it after the live though, because I don't know what's causing it. Normally it's the security program that's causing it, but that's turned off right now. So I don't know why you guys are having issues logging in. I'll have to look into it after the live. Let's see. Rappy, how many places did he go? It depends what article you read. They're all different. They're all different. Every video you watch, every article you read, from last night till an hour ago, they're all different. It's, I don't know. A-Quest, do you think he's in Canada? He might be. I think he glows hard. That's what I think. I think he glows hard. There's too many questions. There's been too much time to pass to not have any real data. To not, like, no one knows any factual data about what happened. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right to me. 2 storms, damn Subarus. They're gonna be the death of us all. I hope not. I hope not. Between me and this guy, we're really dropping the value of Subarus here. 0, not a Subaru. I know. Two storms. Yep, gotta be a glowy. That's what doesn't make sense to me. It feels like he glows. He sounds like a Fed boy to me. Can killer. I think he was dead before the shooting happened. It could be. It could be. Everyone seems to be conveniently ignorant about the situation. The people involved, the people who are providing details and stuff, the people investigating all of this. I understand not putting all your cards out there in front of everybody. There's, advantages to withholding information during investigations and things. I am aware of that. But what benefit is there when you just give no information? You tell everyone, this guy's out on the run. He's armed and dangerous. But we don't know anything about him. Be scared. We need to ban those damn assault weapons. Like, I don't know. Leonard, something is off. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Darlene, he's a firearms instructor. That's what they say. That's what they say. Because it sounds really good when you're trying to ban assault weapons. Assault weapons. You say, wow, this guy who was in the military, well trained, well knowledgeable when it comes to firearms, decided to go rogue and start killing everybody in Maine. He's trying to just genocide Maine by himself. We can't find him. We can't stop him. He's armed and dangerous. We need to ban those damn guns. Yeah, that sounds about right. If you were Blue Team, it would. I mean, that sounds exactly like how Blue Team portrays any gun owner in America. That they solve problems with guns and not words. Those damn MAGA people. That's exactly how they talk about gun owners. And now we're watching it happen. The story's being painted right in front of us. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I'm really suspicious of all the lack of data from a shooting that happened 15 hours ago or however long it's been. It's just, something weird is going on with it. Something weird is happening. Let me see. And see if he can log in now. I just cleared the cache. Maybe that'll help. I'm not sure why we're having login issues on the website. I'll get it figured out after the live, though. As soon as I can. Find my page here. Alright, hooligans. Well, that is all the coffee I had for you guys today. Today was a long one. It was a long... How long? Where are we at here? 3 hours and 5 minutes. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Well, I'm going to drop the link tree for all of you hooligans. If you would like to make donations, join the membership program, or purchase some merch to support the live, you can find all of those links on the link tree. We got that new Spooky Hooligan t-shirt that's just released. If you want to try and receive it before Halloween's here, today would be the best day to order it. And even today, I don't know if it'll make it to you in time. But there's nothing wrong with wearing Halloween gear all the way to Thanksgiving. And Halloween will be back next year, so if you'd like to get that stuff, you can find the merch store. Also, I redid the whole merch store, so if you ain't been there in a while, go check it out. I redid all the zipper hoodies, so the cool designs are on the back instead of being really small on your chest. It says Jeff Mac Hooligan on all the chest pieces, but then the big designs on the back. So all the zipper hoodies have been redone. All of the prices have been redone. All the coffee mugs have been updated to blacked out coffee mugs. I think except for a few instances where the design just looked better on a white coffee mug. And then I made a 1 pint clear glass Spooky Hooligan pint glass, I guess. If you would like to drink beer for Halloween out of something festive, I did create that. Either way, go check it out. Go check out the merch store. Join Gilded. Gilded is free and currently the best way to receive notifications every time we go live, no matter where we go live. The hooligans are there 24/7, keeping the conversation going. And we have a news board to keep you up to date with everything going on around the world. So definitely go join Gilded. Also go check out jeffmaclive.com. You can get a free week by clicking that link at the very top of the link tree. It's a free week. It's not a free trial. So after your week is up, you're not going to get your credit card charged or anything like that. You'll just lose access to the restricted area. But if you want to come back and get a membership, you can pick up right where you left off. And check that out at the very top of the link tree. I'm going to read through the chat really quick. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to wrap this up. Because we've been live so long today, I don't know that I can make it till 9 o'clock tonight before I eat food. I am starving to death right now. My stomach is sick from drinking all this coffee on an empty stomach, so I don't know if we're going to play the game tonight. I need to get food. I'm having the sweats and stuff. I think what's going to happen is we're going to play the game tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time, after Coffee with Hooligans, of course. And we're going to be starting back on Fallout 4, the DLC that we were doing at Nuka World and all of that. We are done with Starfield. We completed it last night. And Dan's still going in circles. Weird. I don't know what's going on. I'll sit here and work on the website. I don't know what is causing these problems, but either way, I will get it worked out. I'm going to read through the chat really quick. And then we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and wrap this up. Iraq, I cut down on coffee. Yeah, I don't know. I try to drink water, but it's not as fun. It's not as fun. Just reading through really quick. DCAT, it's a smoke screen. Look over here, not over there. Old man Walter's getting into more trouble. Yeah, that's very, very well could be. Let's see. Scrolling through really quick. Jeffro, they have to keep putting guns in front to keep trying to take our guns so they can invade, and yeah, and then nobody's gonna be able to fight back. Exactly. Done. You think it's a false flag? It's just something weird. It's something weird. It's always a delicate situation because people could feel strongly about this, right? If you live in the area and you have somebody related to you that just died in this incident, you don't want to hear people online saying this ain't real. And so it's kind of a cautious thing to talk about these things. So that's why instead of like justifying the authenticity of everything specifically, I just want to kind of highlight where the hell's all the details. Where's all the details? Why is all the numbers fluctuating? This is not one of those, this ain't the stock market. Like, the numbers aren't going to go down because you can't come back from being dead. So why are the numbers fluctuating? I mean, it just goes on and on. You know, I've listed a lot of it. It just doesn't make sense. And so, I don't know, something weird is going on here. Bunny game cracked me up. They took our jobs. Yep. I love South Park. Alright, everything is looking good. Alright, hooligans. It's that time again. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright. I always gotta check to see if I muted myself. I've done it so many times now. It's hard for me to do the pledge and not like check where my signal is to see if I muted myself. That's the worst. I can't tell you how many times I've done the pledge to myself because you guys couldn't hear me. Either way, I appreciate all of you hooligans. Of course. Every day we get right here, my voice just takes a crap. That's how it goes. I don't think we're going to play the game tonight. I think we're going to wait till tomorrow. I got to go get some food and stuff and figure this all out. We made it pretty late in the day. Almost 3.5 hour live. It's pretty good stuff. I appreciate all of you hooligans. We will be live tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time for the very next Coffee with Hooligans. I appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you join Gilded. Go join Jeff Mac Live. If you guys are having trouble logging in, I'm going to get that fixed. I'll look into it. I'll get it fixed. Don't you worry about that. Big shout out to everyone that made donations, joined the membership programs, or purchased any merch. I really appreciate all of you hooligans, and I wouldn't be able to do any of this if it wasn't for you. So thank you so much for all your support. I'll see you on the next live. Until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap.
Jeff.